Welcome, everyone, to Legion Gaming. I'm your host, Donnie, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Duce.
Hello, everyone.
Duce, how are you on this fanciful Saturday afternoon?
I am excited for this episode and to get recording again. You know, it's been a couple weeks of just nothing but work, but
Like it always is.
Yeah.
If there's a time we don't work, it means we've won the lottery or something.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you know, I went through some heartbreak last week in the playoffs of the NFL, but now I'm ready to talk about my favorite topic, video games.
Yeah, we have a pretty great episode lined up. We got a request from our friend on Instagram, Diluted Thoughts. He sent us a note. I'll read a little bit later with his list as well, but he suggested that we do a top 10 first-person shooter list, which I thought was a fantastic idea and also somewhat intimidating because it is such a broad topic that it's like, how the hell are we going to nail down 10 of our favorites? So we do have 10 of our favorites each. We have Diluted Thoughts list. We also have some honorable mentions, as we always do, which are longer than our top 10, but you know, this is such a big topic that we have to talk about some of these significant games that we've played through literally 35 years of gaming that we've done.
when you texted me that this was the idea that popped up, and I was the mind blown emoji because I was watching one of the playoff games. I was a couple beers in, and I was just like, "Whoa, how did we not think of this before?" We've done like top 10 racing and top 10 other stuff, but
Mega
like
Man,
this kind of opens the door to top 10 other genres, like top 10 RPGs and stuff like that.
I would love to do that because, you know, top 10s, everyone has a top 10. Top 10s are everywhere, but it's great because I love top 10s or top lists because generally it's always going to be someone's relative list, right? It's going to be relative to you and your experiences, and that's why they're fun. And then something like this where Deuce and I tastes are... We have a lot of similarities, but then for as many similarities as we do, we have a lot of differences in our tastes. So when you have a list like, or excuse me, like a genre like first-person shooters, it is so broad that we do have like some sort of we have some duplicates, but I'd say our lists are pretty varied between the two of us.
We do have a few more of the same games. It's not like our top 10 sports where we were definitely different.
Yeah, that was like two. I mean, that's like, you know, simulation versus arcade.
Yeah. This one, at least we have a lot of the same games because we also grew up playing a lot of these together in multiplayer.
That's also true, which is also why they're on this list.
Yeah, so it's just going to see, like, what did they mean to each of us in different ways?
Yeah, so I think it'll be a fun episode like always. If you want to send us an idea for an episode, you can reach out to us via email at LegionGamingPod@gmail.com. And I'm more prominently on Instagram at Legion Gaming Podcast, where I post videos, stuff in my collection, all kinds of other good stuff when I get myself to posting throughout the week. But it's a good time. You can always send us a message there or something and give us an idea for an episode because we always like talking about pretty much anything. And if it makes sense and all of us can get into it, then we'll do an episode for it. It's a really fun time. But before we get to everything first person and shooting, Ducey, what have you been playing that I guess might be first person shooters too?
Did I play anything? No, actually, I don't think
you did. At least from what you've told me.
Yeah. So I've gotten into a couple things on big TV console finally, and also still playing handheld a lot on Switch. On the Switch, I have all of the retro collections. So that includes like Sonic, and we played that for the last episode. And definitely the Mega Mans and Mega Man X. And I finally went in and I beat Mega Man X and Mega Man X2.
Yeah, hallelujah, because it's fun because I always mistake that you beat those before, at least X. And every time we talk about X, I'm reminded like, oh yeah, he's gone like to the end pretty much.
Yeah.
And you finally did it, and you also got the Hadouken this time.
This time, that's what helped. I got the Hadouken, and I got the Shoryuken in the second game, which was a pain in the ass.
Yeah, that one is... I don't remember all the requirements, but I do remember that it was much more lengthened even Mega Man X was to get the Fireball.
I mean, you have to go all the way to the Sigma end levels before you can get to it, and then you have to do a crazy, like, hop, skip, and a jump around the spike walls.
Oh, I do remember that.
Yeah, and then you can finally drop down to where it is, and... you have to do that with full life. The capsule thing doesn't show up if you don't have full life. So I did that finally, and I threw up my arms in triumph when I got it. And you don't use it that much because it's kind of awkward. Like, I beat the boss of that stage with it in one hit, and then I beat the final Sigma, the wireframe one, because that was their big thing in X2 was wireframe graphics. I beat him with like 2 hits of it, and I was like, there we go. I can dust that one off. And I got into X3 right after that, but that one it feels just naturally harder. Like the enemies hit harder, so you have less life throughout the levels. I do know the bosses are a little more easy to manipulate. I've watched some speed runs and things, and they look kind of goofy sometimes, the way they stutter step forward and all of a sudden the boss does exactly what they want. So I've been able to do that for a couple of them to get through, but it has been tougher, and my thumbs aren't liking it as much, especially with the small Joy-Con buttons.
Yeah, I think X2 and X3 definitely got more difficult with the levels, and the bosses in X2 are actually pretty difficult too. Like some of their patterns are a little bit more randomized, and sometimes you can't get them to do the attacks you need them to do to actually hit them, like the Gator son of a bitch.
Yo, God, yeah, that one takes forever.
Yeah, there's a lot of waiting there, and then that's why I always like X the most, because I feel like they had the best balance as far as like level difficulty and then the boss difficulty. Like it just was, I feel like it was reasonable the whole way through. And then X2 and X3 were probably made for people who've mastered X1, and it's really good. I like them both, but they are definitely harder to swallow for me. And I think like things like the music isn't as good as the first game.
I think,
but they're still really great.
X2 has some pretty good music. That's got stuck in my head.
I think it's more memorable than 3. Like it kind of goes in order.
But I think we've talked about it before too, where like X1, we might have said this way back on our very first episode. It's easier to jump into and just play for a little bit and jump out of, whereas X2 and 3 has a lot more collectibles and things that you got to plan for. And
there's also a lot more cutscenes to that. They don't get in the way necessarily, but if you're just trying to, get a casual session in there, it's a little bit difficult when you're mashing through text and everything.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, but they are pretty great.
And then I got on PS5, last month or the month before, Stray was a freebie. So I picked that up and I downloaded it and started playing that one. And man, I know you talked about it and everybody talked about it when it first came out. It was an amazing game. And I was like, yeah, I should have gotten into it a lot sooner because it's right up my alley.
It's a great game. It looks very nice, I think, and on top of it, the puzzles are really fun. And you're a cat traversing like this sort of futuristic city that's run by robots, pretty much.
And they're goofy looking robots. They're like the not even advanced looking. They look like they have Apple IIs on their heads and stuff.
Yeah, it's really it's got a really cool art design and really like this tech charm to it. But I'm surprised it took you so long, because I ran through it when it came out. It was like a free PS Plus game. And I was like, wow, this is a really short but sweet game, but it's really, really good.
Well, when it first came out, I didn't have a PS5 yet, and I always wanted to play it.
Oh, that's right. I forgot it was a PS5 exclusive first, yeah.
Yeah, I always wanted to play it on there, and then it eventually went back to like PS4 and stuff, but I didn't want to play it on that when I was like, PS5's right around the corner. And then it wasn't free there, and I was like, well, I'll wait. And finally, it came out for the like monthly games thing.
Yeah. It was a Plus game taken off, and then it was a freebie, yeah.
And the last one also involves a little bit of a cat sometimes, and it was a recommendation thanks to you. It's called A Little to the Left.
I knew this game would hook you. Then when I saw the trailer, and I was like, oh, it's a PS Plus game. It's cats and puzzles.
Yeah.
I know exactly would love this.
And like, oh my God, it is so cathartic. It's just like, it's not just puzzles. It's a weird thing for people with like OCD, where like you just sometimes have to organize a drawer, or you have to line up books of a certain color, and it makes sense. If it makes sense to you, it's probably the correct solution. Where like they're all jumbled, and then eventually they look like the color spectrum and stuff like that. I did one where it was a bunch of cleaning products and all the bottles were weirdly shaped, and you're like, well, I mean, yeah, cleaning bottles usually are weirdly shaped, but then you realize, oh, they fit together like puzzle pieces side by side, and you have to find the right order and how to line them up in this like cabinet. And it's just funny little things like that. And now there's a couple DLCs I want to get. I'm almost near the end of the main game, and they also have this like daily thing where you just go in every night at midnight. They swap it over to a new little puzzle, and it's not any puzzle that you did in the main game or anything like that. And then
it's like kind of like the live service. I mean, it's not live service, but they have like sort of a refreshing aspect. I don't know what you want to call it. Yeah.
And so every day there's a new puzzle. You go in, you do it the one time, you wait for it to change over, and then they keep track of like how many you've done in a row.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And you get little badges for if you like. I've already done 3 or 4 in a row, and you get a badge for doing 1 and then doing 3. My next will be doing it for a week at 7. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to just doing that when I when I have a minute, maybe right when I get home from work, and it clears up my brain perfectly.
You just could focus a little bit better, a little bit low key, and a little bit some
the music
quieter
is,
music.
Yeah, the music is very subdued and calming, and sometimes a little too calming because I'll doze off to it if I'm playing too late at night. The reason I said it involves a cat, and you'll see like this like shadow of a cat on the main menu, is like every once in a while you'll be doing a puzzle and a cat paw will come in and swipe at it and knock everything out of the way. And, or like I was doing one and the cat tail like swished back and forth and knocked everything out of the way. And like some people, if you're not a cat person, you're going to get frustrated with that. And other people who are cat people are like, yeah, that I expected that.
Like, this is impervious. This is nothing to me.
There was this one where I was lining up like a plate and a fork and a knife. It was that simple, but every time you lined up two things, the cat would knock everything out of the way. So you had to like hold the thing you were lining up out of the cat's way, and eventually it like meows in frustration, and then you can finish the puzzle.
They got to have like a squirt bottle thing.
Yeah.
Like that's like your sort of a get out of jail free card.
Yep.
Like you can call in certain puzzles. Yeah, just give them a little squirt.
Yeah, get off the table.
Yeah, that'd be pretty fun. I knew that game would hook you. I might check it out at some point, but like I said, I saw it on PS Plus as like one of their additions. Like, well, this is definitely a Deucey game. If there's any other Deucey game, this is it.
Yep.
Yeah. For what I've been playing, I've been let's see, I played through Epic Mickey Rebrushed on PS Plus because that was one of the monthly games. I always wanted to play this because it's kind of old by now. I think it came out like 2009, 2010 on the Wii, and I was never a huge fan of the Wii. I just thought the motion controls would turn me off because there is sort of a painting and thinning gimmick in here where it kind of makes sense with the Wii, where it's like you're painting sections in like a bridge or a ladder or something.
And you have to swish it back and forth.
Yeah, or you can thin the areas out, like if you want to, kill out certain enemies. It's really just like a pretty big collectathon, but it has like a heavy Disney historical theme, and it's really good. Obviously, it's really good because I finished it in like a week.
Yeah,
it's not terribly long. It's like I'd say it's like, I don't know, 8 to 10 hours or something like that, which is kind of good for like a collectathon.
that's also good when you consider it was on the original Wii, and
Yeah,
you probably don't want people waggling their arms that long.
yeah, it's really cool because like each sort of level you play through, like it has the typical objectives, like you have to do certain things to get like certain items. The interstitial levels, which are between these worlds, are 2D levels based on old Mickey cartoons, so like a lot of black and white stuff.
Nice.
And they're really like those transitionary areas where it's like there's a couple of film reels you can unlock because there's like 3 cartoons you can unlock. There's like a bunch of concept art. It's really just like a Disney, like people who are bigger fans in Disney than I am would love this, obviously. But I loved it because it was so, all the history it had on Disney, like all the historical characters. The idea is like, Mickey goes through like this mirror, ends up in like this fantasy world where a painting is being painted by a wizard, and he dumps like Mickey knocks over like the thinner and the paint, and it causes like this cosmic wasteland. So he goes into the painting, kind of like Mario, and he has to like sort of paint everything. And there's also a different ending if you thin everything out, like sort of just obliterates the wasteland more or less. But the idea is like a lot of the old Disney characters are like in this wasteland, and it's fun because I saw a cartridge for Disney's Magical Journey on Super Nintendo.
Oh yeah, you showed me that one.
Yeah, that was one of the items on there. They got like a Mickey Mousecapade on the a cart on the load screen.
That's amazing.
It's really cool. Like it doesn't do anything groundbreaking as far as collectathons, but it's really fun for what it is, and it's free on Plus, so it's even better.
I always wanted to play it back then because I'm a big Disney fan and everything.
You'd love it because there's like pins are part of the big thing here.
Yeah,
it's like Disney pins. It's really great.
And I didn't know about all that. I just wanted to play it because it was like a 3D platforming Mickey, and we hadn't really had many of those at the time. Like the last good Mickey games we had were probably all in the 16-bit era.
Yeah, I'd say that's fair. Yeah, but it's worth checking out for sure if you haven't, because it's an older game. It kind of feels like it, but if you want like that, N64 era, kind of a larger world, but like hub world kind of thing, it's really great. The other game I've been playing is Octopath Traveler 0. This is the RPG it's a prequel to Octopath Traveler 1 and 2, and it's pretty cool because this is a little bit more traditional in the sense that like you don't have like 8 stories that sort of interconnect and you kind of pick and choose. You have like a lead character, and you're after these 3 sort of power-mongered, bad guys throughout the world of they're based on power, fame, and I think fortune is the other one. and you're set out to go after them because they destroyed your town of Wishvale. And the big thing about this game, beyond the fact that it just has a really great turn-based combat system, is that they've added sort of like a little bit of a city building aspect to it. So it's like your town's been destroyed. So now you have to recruit people from around the world and around the realm, like talk to them, recruit them into your party, or send them back to Wishvale to grow your town more. So it's sort of like you're rebuilding the town.
That's kind of like what they were doing in the later Fallouts.
Yeah.
You could have them as your wandering
partner. It's kind of like your cellmate.
Or go home.
Yeah. It's really cool. I really like it a lot. I also started Sonic Frontiers, which I put off for a really long time. Like I had it, I bought it for like $20 on GameFly a long time ago. And it was on PS Plus for the longest time. And, we did the Sonic episode, so I had that itch for Sonic stuff. I was like, well, I'll try it out. And I thought it was still on PS Plus because it still had the icon on there.
Oh, yeah.
But they just removed it. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll install my copy, whatever.
Was there a little lock next to it? I've noticed that on some of the
No,
games.
so it's weird because usually there is. But in this instance, like it was still showing up in the PS Plus store as available. But when you click on it, it makes you buy it.
Oh.
So I think it's just one of those things where it's like they took it off PS Plus, but they didn't refresh the PS Plus page to remove it on there.
Yeah.
But it's whatever. I owned it, so I just installed it. It is what it is. But it's a little weird. Like I understand it's a little weird because it's an open world Sonic game. And I think once you get over that, I think it's really enjoyable. Like I've been playing it a lot more than I expected because it kind of feels like the natural next step for what Sonic Adventure would have been if it stepped in like the open world kind of hub thing. Mm-hmm. Because you play as Sonic in here and you have each island is like an open world, and it's kind of fine because it's not like massive like your Sonic. So you can usually get from one end of the island to the other. And there's like a ton of collectibles to get because one of the things is like you have to find your friends because the whole idea is like you're in cyberspace, like this different dimension that Dr. Eggman of course threw you in. And the idea is like you have to collect the 7 Chaos Emeralds in each island and then go fight a big boss.
Damn.
Yeah. So it's weird that you have to collect them all over again, but I guess it's kind of like, I don't know, I guess each island is sort of its own realm. I don't know how they want to spin that. But it's really cool because there's like a lot of variety. There's a lot of different challenges. They have to unlock parts of the map to show where more icons are. So you have to collect certain icons to rescue your friends like Knuckles and Amy, and then you get these other items that unlock levels, which are more of like the traditional Sonic Adventure or like 2D Sonic levels.
Oh, nice.
And you get keys from those levels if you beat the level, if you beat it under a certain time, if you collect the 5 rings, and then those keys you use or you get from there unlock the Chaos Realms. So you do that throughout each island, and you fight this crazy like Dragon Ball Shadow of the Colossus boss. It's really wild because when you collect all the Chaos Emeralds, you then turn to like Super Sonic. So it's like this crazy Dragon Ball battle where the boss is like 200 feet tall. You're Super Sonic punching it and like zipping around in it. It's kind of hard because you have to have a certain amount of rings. That's kind of like your time limit. So that's why you want to make sure you have enough rings before you fight a boss. But it's kind of cool. Like I'd say that the two things that are a bit of a downside for this is that it does have a pretty bad pop-in issue, and I think that's just something that comes with Unreal Engine 5 from what I've read. It's just like, a lot of this game has a lot of verticality and a lot of like things in the air where it's like you want to go up them to, find new areas, find new keys, find new collectibles. But sometimes they don't come into view until they're like much later. So you'll be like looking around where you want to go, but you see nothing and you speed in. It's like, oh, well, there's rails and other things on there. So that sucks that they haven't really solved that in the last like year it's been out. And I'd say the other downside is like maybe this gets a little bit repetitive towards the end because it's really like you have these open world areas and you have to do all these challenges, which probably get repetitive at some point.
It sounds like it would be already.
Yeah, but I'm having so much fun because it's just like a giant Sonic sandbox. Like there's some really cool boss fights. Like I fought this giant robotic shark where I was like hanging on its tail as it was taking me through the desert. And then you get to a point where you have to do like, you have to bop him and then bash him into and do like 3 more times. It's really, really good. I think I don't know if it's for everyone though. Like that's the thing. It's like it's an open world Sonic game. It's like it seems like it's a bad idea, but it's actually a really awesome idea because it is kind of rooted in like the really old games of like the early 2000s, where it's like you have these big old hub worlds, tons of collectibles, and you have to each one kind of loops into the other so you can unlock more of the game.
It sounds like when we were talking about on the last episode Sonic CD, and it's like they put so much into that game and they wanted you to quote unquote explore, but that's kind of the antithesis of what Sonic was at the time.
That's what's hard, yeah.
It was always about going left to right, whereas this feels like what they wanted to do. Like, okay, now you can stand still and look around and explore, even if it is popping in.
Yeah.
But it's, and to see that they still put in like 2D elements to it so you can go fast as Sonic, that sounds awesome.
It's really good. It's it's weird because it's hard for me to kind of like be critical of it because I don't know, it's like such a weird game to look at because I'm used to Sonic being traditional and this is like not a traditional Sonic game, but it's a great like Sonic Adventure 3. I'm enjoying it a lot so far because I can just kind of turn my brain off if I want to have a podcast on, or if I just want to get lost in it. Like you could find music from the old games in there as well. So like those are collectibles and there's just a lot of stuff to pick up, which again, like could get repetitive towards the end. I don't know how many islands there are. I'd imagine like 4 or 5 at least.
Are the islands... It'd be kind of cool if the islands were themed in a way that are like the old games.
They kind of are.
Okay.
So it's that's the thing. Some of the like the first world you're in kind of looks nondescript because it just looks like a generic mountainside with a waterfall and everything. And there's like these really heavy mechanized elements to it. So it looks kind of generic. But then the second world is like sands sort of like a sandy area, and you do find enemies from like the old games in there that are sort of like references to those, right? So I don't know what the other sort of biomes, as I'll call them, will be, but I'm glad there's at least some variety because I assumed when I saw this that like that main hub world you're in is like the only open world, but thankfully it's not because it's really just kind of generic in a way. It's just if it wasn't for all the playground stuff they did in there, like I could totally see it being just like a nondescript, generic ass mountain, waterfall area.
One land is going to be underwater and there's going to be bubbles you have to collect.
Well, I already went underwater and summons is like, oh shit, I hope there's not more of this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a good time. It's, it's worth checking out for under $20. The tech issues aren't that big a deal, but it's a really cool open world collectathon that I've been enjoying so far.
With characters
Yeah, with characters I know, which
that
helps a lot.
Helps. Yeah.
It does help a lot, yeah. All right, Juicy. Well, let's get into some first-person shooting ranking. I think it'll be a fun time for us. We are here. We are at a fun episode here where we're going to be ranking our top 10 first-person shooters, which
we kind of have a top 25.
We really do, yeah. So, I mean, we're going to be obviously speaking more to our top 10, but we're going to be kind of briefly going through some of our other mentions because there's a lot of stuff that could have been on our list and didn't. And also, just want to give sort of some recognition to some of these games because there is a lot that's happened in this first-person gaming space over the last 25, 30 years, 33 if we're counting like Doom Age or something like that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'll read our letter from our friend Deluded Thought here because he is the one who suggested it. He thought it'd be really fun to, he suggested like doing like, I think favorite weapons or something like that first. Like, oh, we did that like a year ago or something like that, like the best gaming weapons. And he also suggested top 10 first-person shooters. Like, you know what? That's a pretty great idea.
Yeah.
So thank you for sending your list. He says, hello, Donnie and Ducey. Deluded Thought here. Thank you for letting me be part of your fantastic show you guys have. Here's a list of my top 10 favorite first-person shooters by release date. Trying to rank them hurt my head too much. I completely can relate to that.
Maybe we should have done that too.
Yeah. He says, I realize I have a lot to catch up on, but this is the most current list I can think up. Have a great show, guys. Big fan. And his list, in chronological order, as he put them here, Turok Dinosaur Hunter from 97.
Wow.
Turok Evolution from 2002. That was the GameCube PS2 one, I believe.
I forgot all about that one.
Yeah, I remember playing that way back when. Time Splitters 2, a fantastic shooter. I love that one on PS2. Unreal Tournament 3 from 2007. Left 4 Dead 2. Borderlands 2. Far Cry 3 and Blood Dragon. Fantastic choice, especially Blood Dragon. Doom 2016. Titanfall 2, which I'm glad he put some recognition on there because that is a really, really amazing first-person shooter that had the unfortunate release date of releasing between both Battlefield 1 and I think it was Modern Warfare 2. I forgot which one it was.
Oh.
So it just got totally ignored, unfortunately. But it's one of the best. It was probably the best first-person shooter of that year. And his last one is Rage 2 from 2018, which was a really good time.
I liked Rage 1. Yeah.
Rage 2 was also great. It was also a little bit more fleshed out. I liked it.
I didn't play that one. I wanted to because I liked Rage 1 so much. Rage 1 came at a time when I wasn't finishing a whole lot of games. I kept getting sidetracked, but for some reason that one hooked me and I beat it.
Rage 2 was really short. Like I ended up finishing that before I realized it because I was doing like side stuff on top. It's like, oh, there's like 6 main missions and I'm done. I thought that was not the final boss, but it was really good. Yeah. So I'll give a brief history of first-person shooters. I won't cover too much because it's such a huge topic, and we could technically cover this in different episodes from different eras, really. But the earliest first-person shooter is considered Maze War, also known as Maze, in 1973, which is pretty incredible to consider because
that had to have been like some wireframe-looking stuff.
Super primitive, yeah. It was developed by high school students during a work-study program at the NASA Ames Research Center.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. Basically, the whole idea is like you're in this maze, and you shoot other players, which I think were represented as smiley faces, I think, something like that.
Oh, yeah, that kind of sounds like that Faceball game on Super Nintendo.
Yeah, I think that's sort of like
an homage to it.
Sort of an homage to it. Yeah, that game is also on Game Boy. I think it was called Super Faceball or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
And it's also incredible because that game actually has 16-player support on the Game Boy.
Whoa.
Yeah, I don't know how...
With the link cable?
Yes. It's pretty wild. I'm sure there's videos that exist of it, but when I learned that, I was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. Later on in 74, they expanded Maze War to support scoring. It also had a level editor and also supported 8 players over something called ARPANET, which I'm sure was just some, small network at NASA.
Yeah, I was going to say.
They're playing shooters.
Very government hush-hush on that one.
And then in that same year, there was also Space Sim. It's spelled SPA Sim, which is pretty interesting. SPASIM. That's the sort of other first-person shooter, the Godfather first-person shooting, where it was a first-person flight sim shooter, and it supported also 8 teams of 4. I think it was like a 32-player thing where each team was like sort of in control of a section of the space or something like that.
Damn.
And you had to defend it. And I don't know if it had like an economy or anything like that, but I imagine it's like very primitive. And then from there, it's like, we had the 80s where it had like Battlezone, which is like that first-person tank shooting game, which I played some port of on the Mac way back when. There's also like Star Wars Arcade, which, some consider a first-person shooter because you are shooting in a first-person perspective.
Is that the one also where you eventually get like a lightsaber first-person?
No, that's the later arcade game. This is the 1982 one where you're in the X-Wing and you do have the trench run on there. Yeah, I think that also, I don't know if it was also ported to Atari, but it's one of the more known like arcade games of that time. But the one with the lightsaber one, that was way later. It was like in the, I think it was like late 90s, something like that. That was a really awesome arcade too. Yeah. And of course, once you get past the 80s, that's really when it really kicks off, when you have games like Doom in 1993, and you have Wolfenstein before that. Catacomb 3D is another big one that was in the early 90s. And then since then, obviously, we're talking about them now because it is still one of the biggest genres in gaming. It's really just like Call of Duty is the big monolith. Battlefield is doing well now. But first-person shooters were on top for the longest time, and it's all because of these games that we're going to talk about from the past, and also stuff that came out like 20, 25 years ago that really influenced everything that happened today.
If you think about it, those old like Dungeons and Dragons dungeon crawlers,
those were too.
Those could be like first-person, not shooters because you're not constantly shooting, but like you're definitely going space by space from the eyes of your character. Mm-hmm. And that definitely led people to go, I want this, but faster. Yeah.
And it's also, that's the other thing too, is like things just naturally progress because of technology progressing. So, back then, like you had those static movements because that's
all you could do.
Yeah. As fast as your computer could render that, really. Right. And it wasn't until like, again, like the Wolfensteins and Dooms where it's like, it really started to push things forward, but also technology was ready at a point where they could do that. Right.
First person was so popular, it's also everybody's favorite screensaver, when the little maze would come up.
I remember that. Yeah, I do remember that very vividly. So that's a brief history. I would say if you want like a more extensive look, there's obviously a ton of stuff you'll find on YouTube, but there's one I recommend called FPS, First Person Shooter. This was a documentary that came out in 2023. I was a Kickstarter on it, and I got like the physical version. It's a 4.5 hour, pretty comprehensive history of first-person shooters, and they also interview basically everyone from development history. Like they have John Romero on there. I think John Carmack's on there. Cliff Bleszinski, Warren Spector, just like a literal who's who of first-person shooters and everything else. Really good documentary, 4.5 hours. A lot more than we could articulate here in the probably hour and a half, 2 hours. We're going to talk about first-person shooting today.
And we have just a ton of games to get to.
That
they helped produce.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll go through our games that didn't make the list. Do see we'll keep this kind of brief, obviously, because you and I have so many. So these are the ones that didn't make our lists. And then after that, we're going to go back and forth for like number 10 or 9, et cetera, all the way until we get to our number 1 favorite. So obviously, this is, purely a subjective list before we have to say anything further, because there's so many first-person shooter games. There's going to be a lot that isn't on here, and there's going to be a lot of stuff that is on here. So it'll be a fun list for both of us because it's pretty varied, I would say.
There was a ton I forgot, and then I would think of last minute and go, okay, do I really want to put it on the list?
Yeah, exactly.
And other ones I was like, oh, how did I forget this? This definitely has to go on the list.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the more brain-racking lists I think we've done because, like I said before, we've done like racing games, sports, Mega Man, a little bit easier. And this is like because it's such a huge genre and we didn't really put any guardrails. It was a little more harder to nail down just 10.
I was thinking like, oh, next we'll do 2D platformers. Nope.
Yeah, we'll do something very specific. Like, I don't know. Yeah, or immersive sims that are 2D and 2.5D. I don't know, something stupid. Anyway, Deucey, go ahead and chip away at your lists.
Oh, okay. Yeah, first one I'm going to mention here is one that I forgot about, and then I thought, you know what? This definitely has to go on there. It's Resident Evil 7, because at first I didn't like the horror aspect of it. It took me forever. And then once you really get into the game, it's like another game we'll talk about on our top 10, where it took what you already know and made it awesome in first person. I also have Left 4 Dead, the original, on here because our write-in reminded me that Left 4 Dead 2 existed, and I was like, no, I liked Left 4 Dead 1 better because I could actually finish some of the scenarios. And I have the best memories with a friend of ours who's no longer with us.
R.I.P. Utz.
Yeah, he would come over just randomly sometimes, and we would do the co-op for this game. It was a really good co-op game.
Yeah, I wish I got into that more at the time because I played it single player, which is not a great experience. Like, it's an okay experience, but that's like a pure co-op game that really was better with co-op.
Yep. I also have to mention on here Star Trek Voyager Elite Force.
I'm glad you put this because I almost put this on my little mentions. I was like, I know Deucey's going to, so why not?
I almost forgot, and then I was like, no, because I was thinking like Star Wars, Star Trek. I was like, oh yeah, Star Trek.
Yeah,
surprisingly has a good first-person shooter.
It's also based on an engine from another great game I'll talk about later.
Yeah, and this one I found it randomly on PC, and I know it's on like PS2, I think also.
Yeah, it's not the best port, but like for someone like me who didn't have a PC who could run your Elite Force,
yeah,
it's what I could do.
Yeah, this was awesome. And then what else? Oh, I have Wolfenstein: The New Order.
Yeah, I like this one a lot.
I thought about putting the original Wolfenstein 3D on there, but like, no, there's much better games than that. That was like fun for the time, but this one was awesome.
It's really good.
And it leads into my next one, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, because it's by the same people.
Yeah, I almost forgot this on my little, even mentioning this, but I was like, damn, like, how could I forget this? This is one of the best games I played last year. It's really freaking good. And like you said, same developer, Machine Head Games.
My only Battlefield entry on both lists is Battlefield Bad Company, because it's like probably the only one I've ever finished. But I really enjoyed just the story aspect of it compared to most Battlefield shooters. And, you know, the camaraderie between the guys. And then I think this was like one of the first times Destructible Environments was in a Battlefield.
It was first big deal. It was the first time it was a big deal, and it was even expanded in Bad Company 2, which I loved a lot. Like, I played a lot of multiplayer on that. And also, one thing I want to shout out to that game is the sound design is incredible.
Oh, yeah.
That was one of the instances where I remember shooting in like a log cabin house, and I heard like the echo. I wasn't wearing any headphones. I was like, oh, crap. Like, that sounds like I'm, someone shooting in an empty house.
They're finally starting to get it right.
Yeah, it's incredible.
I've also put on this list Rainbow Six, the original from PC.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, it was just one of my favorite games to sit there and methodically plan out and then go in and very slowly shoot people. I don't like the new ones so much. Even like from Vegas on was getting too far away from what it originally was.
Yeah, Vegas was sort of I don't want to say my limit, but that was like the one I loved last for Rainbow Six. Even though it wasn't Rainbow Six like how I traditionally like it, it was still really, really good. And then Siege, I couldn't care less.
Yeah, no. Yeah. I've also got on here Nightfire, 007.
Yeah.
It's probably it was the last first-person Bond. I want to say that was good. That had James Bond. It wasn't not like GoldenEye Rogue Agent, but and yeah, it was the true sequel to GoldenEye. It was what we played a lot of in multiplayer, and it finally got the Bond theme right.
Yeah.
Star Wars: Shadows of the Empire. I'm sure a lot of people are like, "Hey, what?" But I always played this in first person unless it came to the jetpack sections when you're hopping on the little pillars in the desert.
That's so funny. I've done first person in that game, but I've never played exclusively first person.
Yeah, I've only done it in first. For some reason, third just gets too wonky for me.
It is super wonky.
Yeah. And then another N64 classic, Turok Dinosaur Hunter, the first one.
Yeah, love that one.
This is when I start getting into my honorable mentions that are like almost made the
like
top
just
10.
missed the cut.
Yeah. So starting off, Singularity, that was a great story.
Horribly underrated game.
Yep.
It sucks that this game is probably gonna be lost to time. I don't think it's gonna get ported or re-released. I don't know. Really amazing game.
It had great time travel aspects and a great story and a great plot twist. Dying Light, the first one. I've never played the second one. I know you didn't rank that too high. But the first one was awesome because it was just kicking zombie butt and parkour. Far Cry, I put 1 and 5 because they were two different games. Like the first one was very linear.
It was also more of a survival game. That was the whole big thing. Is like you're this guy on an island and you're kind of meant to survive, set up traps,
and you get like cool like supernatural powers and animal feral powers.
And it looked gorgeous back then on PC. Like the water and everything. That was one of those stunner games like Crysis at the time.
And then Far Cry 5 is the Far Cry we all know. From 2 on, it was very open world and everything. And 5, I just really loved the enemies in that. It felt good killing those
very satisfying
cultists.
Yep.
Dishonored was another great story time. And yeah, I just really enjoyed the freedom that game gave you. You could be stealth, you didn't have to be. And then you just went around. It wasn't too big, like in the open world aspects. It was cut up into chunks. Borderlands, I just put this in general, like any Borderlands. If it's got it in the title, it was a good first person.
They're really just, they're really the same game.
Yeah.
They're just expanded in some way. But yeah, it's just Borderlands in general. I totally understand that pick.
And then my number 11 for this list, just barely missed the cut, was The Outer Worlds, because how could I not after I played it so much last year and talked about it so much?
Yeah, that was one of your favorites for the last couple of years for sure. Like you were into that one. Yeah. My little list, I don't even call it little, I guess. I did have Indiana Jones and the Great Circle for the same reasons you mentioned on there, Ducey. I really enjoy this one a lot. It's definitely one of the best licensed games you can play, and it's just a really fantastic first-person game. Duke Nukem 3D, very of the time because of the humor and just how it portrays women in some respects, and just Duke's ultra masculine, like, clown self.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of memories of this because I played this on PC. You and I played a lot of co-op on N64. It's a great Doom sort of inspired shooter, say, like in a sense, like it's sort of an offshoot of Doom in a way. Like I think they're called Build Engine, right?
Yeah.
Really fantastic. Fear.
Man.
I forgot what it's called. First Encounter Assault Recon, something like that.
Yeah.
This game was a big deal on PC when it came out. I couldn't run it at the time. I had to get it. I had to wait for the 360 port, which was really solid. It didn't have like some of the same blood effects, and they definitely make some compromises. But it was a really good game where it's like it had this really great slow-mo gimmick, kind of like from Max Payne. And the AI was really good in this game. It has sort of the supernatural story, really, really great.
Very spooky. It was one of the first games that did jump scares in a first person.
Yeah, really, really well. Yeah. I put Deathloop and Dishonored on here for the same reasons. This is Arcane Studios before Microsoft killed them, unfortunately. They're gone. Yeah, because they did Redfall, which was their first step and last step into the grave, unfortunately. Both those games are Dishonored and Deathloop are great because they fall in that sort of immersive sim category where it's like you have these different options to get through an objective or an assassination or whatever the objective is. And I always welcome that because the best thing you can give a player in any game like that is like full agency and say like, yeah, if you want to go pursue this in some way, do it that way and it's going to work. It might be a little bit more difficult because you want to stick to your plan, but it's going to work. Resistance, the PS3 series, that was a really cool series for the time. Just sort of like an alien first-person shooter on the PS3.
I really want to get into that. For some reason, it didn't hook me, but maybe I'll go back and play it on PS5
cool.
now.
Yeah, because I think some are available on there. And it's got like this cool alt history thing in World War II.
I mean, that's my bread and butter. Is like when I read that, I was like, oh, that's the story?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Bulletstorm, this is a great like score-based shooter. I really like this game. I actually consider replaying it after I made this list.
Even I like this one, and I'm not so much for the frantic first-person games.
Yeah, I think the scoring aspect helped because it kind of encourages you to kill enemies in certain ways and unique ways, and then keep your multiplier going or like use multiple environmental things, right? It's really great because I like that where it's like it kind of enforces variety in some sense. Singularity, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six series, again, like the OG series, like Rainbow Six 1, Rogue Spear. I love those kinds of games, and it sucks that there's very few in existence, if at all. I really don't know anything that comes close to like Rainbow Six's original sort of, get your intel, plan out your pathways in there to dispatch terrorists and anything like that. It's just, I don't know why this is a genre that's just dead now. It just isn't like there really isn't even any kind of successor or copy of it, you know?
These kids don't have the patience.
I guess not, yeah. Red Faction, really liked Red Faction back then with the highly destructible environments. There was a geomod technology, that was the buzzword, but it looked amazing because a lot of that game was destructible, and it got even better in Red Faction 2, even better with multiplayer.
I distinctly remember in Red Faction 1, there was a locked door.
Yeah.
So I just blew a hole in the wall next to it and went through there.
Just make my own entrance. Yeah, I loved it for that. I lumped these together, but they're totally unrelated. I put Prey 2006 and Prey 2017. Prey 2017 is more of an immersive sci-fi immersive sim. Prey 2006 is a really cool just corridor shooter with portals before Portal.
Yeah.
It wasn't as extensive as Portal. We can make, you could put portals everywhere, but the idea was like you'd find these portals on this ship or wherever you're in, and you'd see like the game taking place through there, and you'd walk through there, and you're in a whole different parts of the ship or something like that. Really cool game, also great atmosphere, and also has one of the best openings, or memorable openings with you sort of being abducted as Don't Fear the Reapers playing on the jukebox.
Yep.
Incredible. Let's see. Chronicles of Riddick, Escape from Butcher Bay, another immersive sim on the Xbox that I loved that also got a remake.
That was another good use of a license, I remember, but it was really hard. I got stuck very early.
Me too. It was really hard, but it was really good. Very stealth-oriented, very moody too. Time Splitters 2, The Darkness.
I'm surprised Time Splitters isn't on your top
I know.
list.
Well, the others, like, I don't know. I have some sort of reverence for the others, which is why. But Time Splitters 2, that would have been like my number 11 if it was. The Darkness, a great 360 sort of demon-oriented shooter. And like you have this talking demon voiced by Mac Patton of Faith No More. Really great shooter, really great story, little mob story. Alien vs. Predator on the PC. This was a very atmospheric game where you could play as the alien, the soldier, or the predator. The soldier was really difficult and scary as shit. One of the more frightening experiences on PC I played back then. Titanfall 2. And then last two are VR games I thought were really great. Super Hot VR, which you played way back, Deucey. It's sort of like the Matrix in VR, where it's like
it only moves when you move.
Yeah, when you move, everything else moves. So you can have the plot where you're going to go, and you can deflect guns and bullets. It's just freaking cool. I don't know. I think it has a PSVR 2 patch, but I should play this one up again. And last one is Half-Life Alyx on PC, which is a VR game. Might be the best VR game I ever played because it's a full first-person shooter experience. This is the first game that made me a little bit of motion sickness in VR because I guess you kind of have to like acclimate yourself to moving in full 3D like that. So it's going to take a while to get through that one, unfortunately.
This reminds me, though, that I should have put the Resident Evil 4 VR version on there.
You should have, because that's all about you. You love that one.
Yeah, that one is my favorite first-person VR experience.
I would put that up there, too, because that one it's great because it's the full RE4 game, and it works so freaking well in VR. It's just so fun with all the different gestures and all the things you can do. It's really great. Yeah. All right, Ducey. Well, we chipped away at a shitload of games there. So I guess we'll get to our formal top 10 here. So, Ducey, would you like to kick us off with your number 10 pick?
Okay. Coming in at number 10, this one bounced around back and forth between honorable mentions and my list, but I had to put it on here. It's Deus Ex.
I love this game. Yeah.
It is one of my favorite... It's from the PS2 era. It was originally on PC, but I didn't get to play that version. But the PS2 version I played was pretty much enough.
It's a damn good port of the PC one. It's one of those things like with Half-Life where it's kind of incredible that they made it work on PS2.
Yeah.
It's really, really good.
It was just enough, and the story is wide open. It's also very futuristic, kind of like The Matrix. And to me, what stuck with me the most was that it let me do whatever I wanted to complete the mission, and it would just kind of wrap the story around it. There was like an NPC who's supposed to be on my team, but like she pissed me off or something and I killed her. And then the boss, like your head of the agency, was just like, okay, well, that'll be some paperwork. And then the game continues. And I don't know if like I was supposed to fight her later on. Maybe she was going to be a boss at some other point or something, but I was just like, that was wild. Usually,
there's no. There's a consequence, but it's not like a game-ending consequence.
Yeah, usually it says like mission failed immediately, and then you have to restart a level or something. But this one was just a great time, start to finish. And I didn't put it together that like later games like Dishonored were kind of built off of this. This was one of the earliest versions of it.
Yeah. Again, this is an immersive sim. It's later on my list, but it's It really gives you full agency to do whatever you want. And that's really what attracted me to the game to begin with. So I'll talk about that later when I rank it. But I was glad you put this on your list because I noticed like your first iteration didn't. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, he snuck it in there for good reason. Because spoiler, without giving the list, there's one that we definitely cheated on, but we don't care because we make the rules here, so it's fine.
I cheated on a couple.
Yeah, a little bit of dual entry, but we'll get to it when we get to it.
But this one also, it reminds me that like, unlike some games that are on my list where there's RPG elements and stuff, and you're restricted from doing things even in the early game, once you level up, you can do whatever you want. This one was just like, hey, do you have that item? You can go ahead and do it.
Well, and it lets you do, again, like whatever you want. And it's always like each area is sort of its own playground. So like even like the first area is like you're going through the Statue of Liberty to get some terrorists or go capture one or something like that, or interrogate them or something like that. And you have all these avenues where it's like, well, how do I want to go through this? Like you could technically go in guns blazing and just dispatch everyone in your way. Or you could explore and go stealth around, like you find like different entrances and secret ways up some like shipping containers and whatever, and you could dispatch enemies stealthily through there.
You could even like hack a computer and maybe make some turrets like clear out the rooms for you.
And at the time, I'd never played any game that gave you that kind of freedom before. It's always, we're gonna if anything, it'll kind of nudge you in the way and it'll give you this sort of perception that you have freedom to attack an objective however you want, but you don't. It's really just sort of like smoke and mirrors, where it's like they're really just kind of directing you in the sense with the solution they want you to. This was like, no, like if you can think it and you think you could pull it off, give it a shot. You probably can. You know? Yeah. My number 10. This is probably the first big online game I got into. It's a Quake 3 Arena. This obviously was the formative years for me for my arena shooting love, because my buddy had this. This is like when the internet was still really new and really new to us. So I had a PC that really couldn't run much outside of like Doom and some like really small games. I think I could run Duke Nukem 3D and Rainbow Six to some extent. But games like Quake 3 were just beyond my 1996 Sony Vaio. So my buddy got this. And this game is weird because unlike Quake 1 and 2, it's just a multiplayer game. There's no single player component. There's no story, anything like that. It's strictly multiplayer, which I remember kind of rubbing people the wrong way in a sense back then, because they're like, this is awkward. But it's one of the best first-person shooting multiplayer games I'd ever played. And a lot of that was because you could finally play online. Like there'd be all kinds of servers that people were setting up. And it was just so fun to figure out these maps and like do things like rocket jumps. And it was just so freaking fast. Unlike anything I'd ever played before. And to me, this is like really what kicked off my love for just fast-paced shooters. So I had to put this on my list because this part where got nudged out by like Time Splitters, but because of this of like being like my first experience in online gaming, really, more or less, I would say, I had to put on here because it's like I have so many memories with this. My buddy and I played it a ton.
I remember I would see you play it every once in a while at your house.
Yeah, I finally got a PC that could run it.
Yeah, and I still had dial-up for the longest time, so I definitely couldn't run any online stuff.
Well, we did it on dial-up before. Like it was, the thing is like when everyone's on dial-up, then you're kind of like on even ground, right?
That's true.
Yeah. So it's like once we got DSL and I got a new PC with the DSL internet, then it was like even better because it was actually fast-paced and less laggy. There's still lag.
Yeah.
But it was such a great time. It was so easy just to get a match and just kill people. It was great.
My number 9 is continuing the immersive first-person games.
Yeah, and fantastic ones.
This is like one of the top ones ever, and it's BioShock 1. And I also kind of cheated and put Infinite in there, because to me, they were very similar. One's just in the ocean, one's in the sky. They have great twists on the story towards the end of the game, and just getting there was a treat. Like, it looked amazing, both. No matter how many years apart the two games were, both looked incredible. I haven't even played the remastered versions.
They look great.
But I'm sure like my memories of these originals are what the remasters are going to look like.
Yeah, the remasters, I need to finish them, but I did play BioShock 1 Remastered, and I was like, wow, this is a pretty significant improvement for not being like a remake. It looks really, really good.
Nice. Like, I remember the first time you go near a Big Daddy, and like I was thoroughly scared of it. I was like, but that also led me to find creative ways around it, which is kind of what they want you to do. They're like, you're not going to be able to take this thing head on, so here's some other options. And I was fully prepared to go down those other routes. I was like, yeah, no, this makes sense. But yeah, that twist in the first game, I was just mind blown. And it was like the Sixth Sense sort of thing when it happened, which also kind of sucks because whenever you replay it now, you're just like, yeah, I know what's coming.
Yeah, this is one of those games where I wish I could re-experience it for the first time again, because obviously with the twists, would you kindly, it's like you can't really forget that.
Yeah.
Right? Because I can forget like most of the game.
I'll probably forget a lot of the jump scares.
Yeah, exactly.
But not
right?
that twist.
But not that big significant story twist in both games, Infinite and Bioshock 1. I really love all the games. Like I really like Bioshock 2. Did you play through 2? You did?
I've played through all of them, but 2 was just like it felt like kind of a side story.
Yeah, it was really just like 1.5.
Yeah.
But I didn't play it till maybe I forgot what it was. Maybe it was 360 or something like that. I forgot what it was. Or PS4. But I played through. I was like, wow, this is really good. And then the DLC, which I think is called, God dang, what is it called? Like Miranda's Inn or something like that. I forgot what it's called.
For the second game?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know
There's a DLC story.
DLC.
But that's arguably better than the whole game itself. It's really,
nice.
really good. So maybe this will be an episode we do in the future, like a Bioshock trilogy, because I think it'd be really great to play through these games because I'm sure they aged very well, very, very well with the remaster.
The remaster collection, does it have all 3 or just the first 2?
It's all 3, I believe.
Nice.
And I thought it was a PS Plus game too. I thought.
Oh yeah, I think I have seen it recently. There.
I don't know if it's on there as Plus game or if it was a monthly or something like that. But I swear I've seen it just scrolling through, and it's always like, oh, I could play that. you know? Yeah. All right, my number 9. This is another big one for us too. See, so if Quake 3 Arena was like the first foray into arena shooting for me, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4, holy crap, this kind of revolutionized online multiplayer for me because there was no other game at this point we were playing more than Call of Duty. Like we've talked about in our past episodes where Halo 3 was the big game that year, which we did play. We enjoyed
for about a month.
For literally about a month and a half. We got the beta for Modern Warfare, and it's like, holy crap.
Yep.
There is something insanely addicting about this game. Whether it's the kill streaks, the maps, the game flow. I don't know what it was. I can't really pinpoint it, but this was the experience where it's like all my friends from work, all my personal friends, everyone was on this game every single night in a party.
I mean, I feel like a lot of people were doing that already with Halo 2 and 3.
Yeah.
We had a lot of friends. Our friend of the podcast, Randy, would get on from way back east where he was. And then Call of Duty came out, and I think it was all the additional stuff that it added that Halo didn't have, where it was like you mentioned, the kill streaks and just the leveling up. Like the little...
That's right. The progression.
When the medals would pop up and the little cha-ching, cha-ching, you're just like... It triggers that part in your brain where like, I want that more.
Yeah. And also it's just the flow of the game itself. Like, you know, the single player is great on its own as well. That's really like one of the best campaigns Call of Duty ever did.
Yeah.
And there's also a lot of memorable levels like All Gillied Up and, you know, the whole Ferris wheel in that level. Just such a amazing single player game on its own. And you have the multiplayer, which... Again, it was so addicting at the time that we were playing it nonstop and didn't have the progression. It just had the game feel where it was just really fun to play, even whether you're playing with solo or with your buddies. But for us, we almost always had a full party.
Yeah,
it was always some configuration of like of our different friends making like this whole party together, this little stew of all of us just trying to like get the highest streak or get a big win streak.
And I think what it did better than the more recent games did, and also what Halo did at the time was like. When you leveled up, all you were doing was unlocking things with the leveling. It didn't really pertain to your lobbies that you were going in. Whereas like Halo had the level number, and that meant you were going to fight a lot of people in that level. Once you got to a certain brick wall, you might lose your levels, and you'd have to be dropped down. But in the meantime, you were losing, and it wasn't fun.
Yeah.
Whereas Call of Duty, you just keep going, you just keep unlocking stuff. Your rank gets higher and higher, and it doesn't matter. You could get in a lobby where you get your butt handed to you, and other times you could just totally dominate.
Yeah, and the big thing then was prestiging, which took a lot longer than it does now. Like
now,
now if we wanted to grind in like a newer Call of Duty, like it probably would take a weekend to get to 55, and people are gloating about how they get to like Prestige 10 or something like that. So Call of Duty, it has a little bit of a checkered history now because some games are better than others. But because this was so fresh and new from what Call of Duty had been doing previously with Call of Duty 2 and 3, and also you have to consider it was World War II previous to this. So people were sick of that theme between this and Medal of Honor. So this was just a fresh new theme, fresh new weapons that you really hadn't played for in a Call of Duty, and holy crap, what a first Modern Warfare it was.
Even was Battlefield 3 after Modern Warfare?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was
so even the Battlefield series was set in like World War II and stuff.
It was, yeah, like Battlefield 2. But then I think Bad Company came out before 3. I don't know. But even then, like that was when Bad Company did modern stuff as well, right?
Yeah.
Up until this point, everything was World War II, yeah. Your number 8, Ducey.
Oh yeah, I almost forgot about this one too.
I was almost surprised you put this on here, but it's a really, really good first-person shooter. Yeah.
Yes, and for me especially, this beat out Dying Light making the list, and it is Dead Island 2.
I like this better than Dying Light.
Yeah. I mean, it made my game of the year a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Or maybe I think it was our first ever game of the year.
I think it was 2023 or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
And I mean, for good reason. I was just nonstop playing this all the time. And like, I enjoyed Dead Island 1, but that one was more difficult and more set on maybe having teammates and stuff.
Yeah, I played that co-op and it was great. Like I played through it a couple times, but it was also janky as hell back then. Yeah.
Where once I got into this one and I got into the flow of things and how everything moved, I was like, oh, I'm just running through every map, killing all the zombies I need. I picked up every collectible possible. I still haven't done the DLC though. I do have to get those. I think there's 2 of them now.
Yeah, I played through one and it's literally like an hour and a half and it's fine. Like it's not offense or anything. Like it's
but
just,
for me,
play through it. Yeah,
it's more
good.
of the game.
Yeah, it was still, I still enjoyed my time with it because I actually didn't expect to like this game as much as I did, because I think, if I recall, like there was really not much known about it until it released.
Yeah.
They kept it quiet. And I was like, well, I don't know how good it's going to be. And I was like, holy crap, this is one of the best games I played this year.
Yeah.
Because one of the big things I like is that they sectionalize the maps. So it's not like a giant, vast open world. Because the reason I didn't like Dying Light 2 is that it was a massive open world, tons of collectibles, tons of like parkouring on rooftops, which I didn't like. And Dead Island 2 was more grounded, more like actual zombie kind. Like I'm not more or less trying to avoid zombies and interactions.
It also felt very free and like quicker than the original.
Yeah.
Even though like Omni movement wasn't a thing until Call of Duty did it, but it felt very much like that. Like you
had a lot of mobility and options. Yeah.
You're like, I will slide kick into this zombie. I don't even care.
or double stomp them. Like that's again, like the great thing about this is like the creativity you have in just in killing enemies or destroying zombies, like setting up, throwing like an explosive canister and then like throwing an axe at it or something, or trying to set up like a elemental effect where you have like a puddle, like you dump water all over the place and you dump your shock weapon so it shocks them all. Really amazing game. I love this one.
That was another thing too. I really enjoyed the crafting in this, where you could just make the weapons do different things. So I always had like a flame weapon, a bio weapon, a shock weapon.
Yeah, I did the same way. You have your elemental sort of toolkits.
Yeah, and then I stopped really collecting weapons. I would just repair those over and over again because they were doing great damage.
Yeah. Fantastic choice. My number 8, we covered more or less already here. It's Deus Ex, and I really like it for the same reasons. And the story here is really great because it's one of those early 2000s sort of prescient stories where you're working for a government and there's this big old pandemic called, I think it's called the Gray Death, something like that. And the idea is like you're out to find out these terrorists who are apparently spreading out the virus, and it turns out that the government is actually trying to save the vaccines for the elites, and there's all this whole sort of dystopic cyberpunk conspiracy going on, and it's just ultimate bread and butter for me. Like, that is such a fantastically fun story to experience.
And like your main character has a brother, and you yourself and some of your other government buddies all have what they call, I think, augments.
Yeah.
And those weren't readily available. But then as you go on in the series, in some of the later games, now all of a sudden it's like a civil war.
They become more cybernetic.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost like a war, like in the Matrix, like the war of the machines versus humans, and like sort of the people who are in betweens where they've augmented their bodies in some way.
Some like people are trying to say, oh, augments are the way of the future. And then there's those holdouts that don't want to do it.
So this story just has just an incredible conspiracy twist to it. And also the world is dark and moody. And again, like we talked about, like it just gives you player agency to do whatever you want and however you want. If you have a bunch of lock picks to, pick some locks and find a sneaky way in, you can do that. If you want to, tranquilize enemies and get in there, you could do it that way. This was really one of the earliest games I played where it just lets you do whatever you want. And while there's consequences in some instances, it actually could make the story turn out differently in some way, which is another big thing that, back then, like the stories were very linear. So it's like you were given what you were given. And here it's like, well, you might experience a different story in a totally different way. You'll get to the same end, but you might see some deaths or other things that might happen because of your actions that happened earlier in the game.
I think there was still a set number of endings, but it was more than one.
Yeah.
Which is what most games had back then.
Yeah. But truly a stellar game. I would really love to finish Mankind Divided and Human Revolution because I've only gotten so far in both of those.
True, yeah.
I don't know that they announced a remaster of this game or like a remake. It was poorly received because it looked like garbage. I wish Night Dive was doing it, which I think is like the sentiment a lot of people had. So the developers, I forgot who it was. I think it was Aspire. I can't remember. But they essentially said, we're going back to the drawing board. We're going to delay this and sort of rework it, which is a good sign. I hope they use that time well.
Well, hopefully they stick with it, unlike the news we just got about Prince of Persia.
Yeah, which I expect. I think that got delayed, and then Ubisoft is in a bit of a free fall. Yeah. So it's like we're pumping out live service games that no one wants, and we're laying off people and closing studios. So there you go.
Yeah.
But as far as like where Deus Ex is now, the series is in, I think it's under Embracer Group. So God forbid they actually do anything. Yeah, the Embracer is one of those companies who acquires companies and shuts them down. Like that's like their hobby is pretty much what it is. And they somehow got the IP for Deus Ex.
Yeah.
So the first game, wildly prophetic in some instances to the time we're living in now, as far as like the media and the government weaponizing misinformation, something that wasn't so common in the early 2000s, but this game was sort of positing that sort of theory. And well, holy shit, 25 years later, we're doing the same thing.
Yep.
So very fantastic game. Number 7, Ducey, for you.
Well, I guess we can both talk about it because...
Yeah, we have this both at number 7.
Surprise.
Yeah.
We actually got one to line up.
I think the only one to line up, frankly, right?
Yeah. And it's the big, like, you might say turn of the century when it comes to first-person games. Mm-hmm. It's Halo 2.
Especially console more than anything else.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Right? More than anything else, it's like just, as far as like the big things they did for consoles, yeah, it's Halo 2.
And like before that, we definitely had like the Battlefields and stuff on PC, and everybody's like, hey, check these out, what we can do. And then Xbox was like, well, look at what this can do with online and all of that, getting together with your friends. Even couch co-op and couch multiplayer was still a big thing back then. And we would like hook up 4 Xboxes and have huge LAN parties at our buddy's house.
That's one of my favorite memories I will always have near and dear to me is like, all of us hauling our CRT TVs from our respective homes into one home, getting like, dozens of feet of Ethernet cable and whatever else, having the Purple Rain soundtrack blaring, and we're all just killing each other in 16-player Halo.
While everybody had needlers.
Yeah.
That was a very fitting song
it was, that. And the plasma swords. This was just, God, this was like, I mean, beyond the hype of this game previous to it coming out, which was like just huge, the payoff of playing online, like the single player, whatever. Right? Like, I think it ended kind of poorly. I think a lot of people were more disappointed, especially after what Halo 1 did. It's still a great campaign, but the bread and, or excuse me, the steak and potatoes of this thing is all the multiplayer, like whether it's local, like you said, co-op, or more importantly, online. This is like really the big game that got us in Xbox Live, because by then, like, broadband was more broadly available.
Yep. And
this got everyone to play online.
I think this might be the first game I played online when we finally got high-speed internet, and I was just like, oh, by the way, I need like 100-foot cable to go.
I remember that,
to go from the router all the way over into my room.
I remember being looped in, staple on the door frame and all that.
Yep. And then I hooked up my Xbox and immediately jumped into Halo 2's multiplayer lobbies.
Yeah, this was truly a great experience. I remember the whole thing is like, I think it was called True Skill matchmaking, where it's kind of like what you're saying, where it was sort of like skill-based matchmaking of the time.
Yeah.
But it was great because it had a really good mix of maps, like both in terms of like the big team battle stuff or like the smaller scale stuff. Obviously, a lot of options for multiplayer, like if you want to do like rockets only or something, or do different weapon setups. Yeah. This was just like such a landmark game, and easily one of the most influential console first-person shooters, if not just influential first-person shooters in general.
Did this one start having DLC levels, or was that Halo 3?
This was, DLC in a loose term, as in like it had that disc that you could buy for $15. I think it was. It was a map pack, and the great thing about that is I remember buying that like EB or something like that, and I just gave it to all of us. I was like, "Here you go, install it."
That's right. That's how I got them.
Yeah,
I knew there was extras.
There's no DRM, so you could just pass the disc around to your friends, and we all had the extra maps. I forgot how many was in there, but yeah, that was when it was sort of like, PC had expansions. This was like a console expansion, so we didn't quite have DLC yet. I think the first instance of DLC I remember was the Hurricane Pack on Ninja Gaiden back then.
Oh, wow.
Where they added like these different missions and whatnot. But Halo 2 did not have it. I don't think you could download it from like a storefront or anything.
Yeah. I also put on my number 7 was Halo 2 and 4.
Yeah.
Because 4 got me back into Halo after Call of Duty stole all my attention. Mm-hmm. But that was only because Halo 4 adopted like the Call of Duty control scheme and even sort of like how the multiplayer was set up. But I did have a ton of good times on that multiplayer as well.
I feel like we played that multiplayer more than we did 3.
Mm-hmm.
Because 4, again, the campaigns, whatever, it was enjoyable. But that was the first Halo where I was like, oh, this is actually really, really fun. Like, it finally captured some of what I liked from 2 and kept it going.
And I feel like at that point, a lot of us had split off and we weren't keeping up playing together. But this sort of brought everybody back together.
That's
briefly.
true. Yeah, that was that point where we all had like, jobs and school and other things going on. Yeah, we're a little bit more responsibility in our lives. All right, Ducey, you're number 6.
Okay, I'm sure a lot of people, and you included, are saying this is too low. But
well, I'd say too low, but knowing you, I'm like, well, that's right.
Yeah,
that's the thing. It's like I'd say too low, but I understand why you put it there.
Number 6, just barely missing my top 5, is the original Doom.
Yeah,
I mean, it had to go in my top 10. I wasn't going to just give it an honorable mention because, as I've stated in the past when we did our Doom episode, like, I always want to play this. I'll turn it on just out of nowhere and do a few levels, mostly the first level over and over again because of the awesome soundtrack. But like, no matter how many times they redo it and remaster it and add stuff to it, I will always go back to Doom. Like, it was
it's comfort food.
What started it all. I remember playing it on, I think I played it on Super Nintendo before I even played it on PC. Mm-hmm. And to me, it looked fine on Super Nintendo. I was like, yep, this is fun.
That's how I felt. Like I had, I had very small familiarity with the PC version. Like I played it at a buddy's house, but by the time I played on SNES, I was like, wow, this looks and sounds great. It's Doom.
And then you see it side by side and you're like, how did I even do this?
Yeah, especially as you're like, holding Eleanor to scroll and it's like going so slow.
Yeah.
But again, that's the only version we could play for a time. Yeah.
Yep, and I was perfectly fine with that.
Yeah. My number 6, you covered this a little bit earlier, Ducey. It's BioShock.
Yeah.
Again, for the same reasons we really talked about, this game was just the world art direction and like just sort of the world feel just feels like a totally different world, which is how it should be. Like it draws you in and immerses you in such a way like that some sort of society existed under here in Rapture. And now you're seeing the remnants of like, there's just like dead people all over. There's the splicers and everything.
I think this was the first time where I took my time looking at everything in the environment.
Yeah.
Even if there wasn't pickups.
Because all the details were there. Like you just wanted to explore what was before you got here. And it's just even that the first scene's impactful when you're getting a plane crash and you end up in the ocean. You go towards like the lights. It's like a sort of like a lighthouse. And you're pulled in the Rapture and you're like, holy crap. Like at that point, like some games, in those first few months, like when it feels like something special. And when you play BioShock, that's what it was. I feel like it's really hard to nail that for a lot of games where they just... those opening minutes, it's just like, holy crap, like I'm drawn in, I'm hooked, that you've sold me. And that's what BioShock does, and it continues throughout the game because the pace of it is just so well thought out. Like everything's sort of rolled out in a slow way. It's a slow burn in a lot of respects, but it does so much with what it has. And also like the tonics are really cool, like the different powers you get.
Oh yeah.
Like finding those is great. And there's also sort of the dynamics of like the little sisters where you sort of sacrifice or save some of them. And that gives into like, well, it's like I get more power and more, I forgot what it's called, more atom.
Yeah.
If you sacrifice them or if you save them, then you get less. And that plays in some of the ending bits as well. And it's just a really incredible game. I think it's like 2007, which is kind of mind boggling. It's almost 20 years old, but it was also like one of the first 360 games that was like, yeah, this is the signal of like the next generation getting its foothold finally.
And it came at an interesting time because I think we were starting to lean more on a ton of multiplayer stuff.
Yeah.
And online was becoming all the rage. There was less and less couch co-op type games. But then these guys came in and said, well, we can still tell great stories single player because the first one at least had no multiplayer. Mm-hmm. I think the second one did.
Yeah, it had something weird. It's funny because like I forgot about it until you just mentioned it now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't recall what it was. I think it was like, I'm remember you play as Big Daddies. I don't remember what you do in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I also thought that was a weird addition to begin with.
Yeah. Whereas the first one, it was like, nope, you're not going to need it. This is all just for you.
Yeah. And you should savor every moment of it.
Yeah.
You should do. Yeah. All right, Ducey, we're cracking to our top 5, and we both cheated on this entry, so, fine, whatever, we cheated.
My top 5 is 5 all on its own.
I know. You went a little bit more extreme than I did.
Yeah, because each one I'm going to mention is like significant to me. Number 5 is Call of Duty, just a ton of them. Like Call of Duty 2, Call of Duty 4, Black Ops 1.
Yep.
Modern Warfare 2019 and Warzone.
Warzone. So I considered putting Warzone on my list. And I almost did, but it was hard for me to put. So I'm glad you put it on your list because Warzone, that first year, maybe 2 years, some of the best gaming moments I've had in the last like decade and a half. Truly amazing.
It definitely got us through the doldrums of the lockdown.
Yeah, and that's also the weird thing is just relative to the pandemic happening and kicking off right around the launch time of Warzone. It's just such a weird time in my life just for like what was happening in the world, but also like the result of that is like us being shut-ins, which I'm already a shut-in to begin with. Now it's just more encouraged to do so. But we all got together to play this every single night. For
as separated as we were, and we had to be, it really brought us all together. That's when we really started playing together more.
Yeah,
and then when the world opened up, we were like, hey, why not meet up again?
Yeah, it did. It really was. It's funny. Like everyone was so far apart, yet it brought some of us closer together. Yeah.
But the other reason I put all these other ones on there is like Call of Duty 2 was the first one I ever played. And I'd played some other World War II games, but this one was the first time where I was just amazed by the level design. And like the first level is storming the beach at Normandy. And you could tell Call of Duty at that time wanted to be more about the storytelling and the cinematics than just, oh, here's a military shooter.
Yeah.
Like Medal of Honor was fun, but it was like, I don't remember the stories too much about but like this was a cinematic experience. And 4 is on my list for everything that you mentioned already on your list. Black Ops 1 was another great campaign.
It was a great follow-up to, because I know they had Modern Warfare 2, and I think this came after 3, right?
No, I think it was before 3.
Before 3, yeah.
So this was after World at War.
Okay, that's right. World at War was before this, yeah. But yeah, Black Ops was the first one I loved after Modern Warfare.
And it was like so unique for any military shooter because it wasn't modern and it wasn't World War II. It was right there in the Cold War times and Vietnam and stuff like that. And then Modern Warfare 2019, I mean, that kind of goes hand in hand with Warzone because they both came out right around the same time as the pandemic. And like we hadn't played Call of Duty in I don't know how many versions.
Very many because we had gotten so tired of it. They went like in a different direction with like the futuristic stuff. And
yeah,
it almost was an arena shooter, but not.
Yeah.
It was really weird. Like I should have enjoyed it more, but I didn't. I was just over it, you know?
Because it wasn't full arena shooter. It was still trying to cling to the old ways.
Exactly. It was a mix of both, and I didn't like either of them, the way they mixed them.
But then this remake put your boots back on the ground.
Yeah, it was the reset it really needed.
Yeah, and it was so much fun. That was where all of a sudden all of my time went into it. Forget all these other games.
Yeah, we definitely played a ton of multiplayer on the 2019 Modern Warfare. And then we were excited for Warzone. That kind of like, we would flip-flop between the two, but, you know, of course we play more Warzone. But this was, again, the first multiplayer, probably since Modern Warfare 1, the original, that I sunk so much time into. Like, we were drawn into this. We were, like, having so much fun, like, even with some of the BS and some of the maps we hated. We were still enjoying it, right?
We were looking up, like, oh, what's the best gun for this? What's the best way to approach this level?
Yeah, meta loadouts we were not even looking at back then. There was no such thing.
Yeah.
All right, my number 5 as far as my cheat entry here. So I really cannot pick between these two, so that's why I'm cheating.
Yeah.
And partly is because if I had to split these up, something else on my list would have got knocked out, and I didn't want to knock out Quake 3 is what it was. So for my number 5s, I put GoldenEye and Perfect Dark. And the only reason I'm tying them together is because they're both rare games.
And pretty much the same. Like one's a spiritual sequel to the other.
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that Perfect Dark is, you know, is sort of like a future theme, it could be another Bond game, frankly, if they had the license, which is probably what they intended in some respect.
Joanna is just Joanna Bond.
Yeah, she really is Joanna. Yeah, she's a parallel to Bond in the best ways.
Yeah.
GoldenEye, we had a whole episode a while back that we had with the Vito. That was a really fun time. That really just kind of goes into why we love it so much.
We should do an episode on Perfect Dark.
We should, yeah. Yeah. But, you know, it's obviously one of the most influential games of all time, one of the most influential console shooters of all time with the 4-player multiplayer, the incredible single player that has like the different objectives based on your difficulties. And it also followed the movie fairly well, which was, again, we talk about back then, like movie-based games for the most part were like 95% trash and 5% good, if that, right? Like that's good is like it's playable and it's fine.
Yeah.
But GoldenEye set itself above most everything else by differentiating itself by doing everything else that the others were not. And then Perfect Dark came out a couple years later in 2000. And this was really just sort of an expanded GoldenEye because now you had even more multiplayer options. You had an even bigger single-player campaign. There's also a co-op campaign. There's also a counter co-op.
Yeah.
Counter-op thing. And then the multiplayer, we sunk so much time into this because it gave you the freedom to make whatever game types you want with the bots, the different maps, different weapon types. I mean, we played this, it had to be like thousands of hours over like that year or two, or it was.
It was so close to the end of the N64's life. Like, we had the next consoles like PS2 and stuff.
Yeah.
And we still would go back to N64 for this.
Exactly. It was just that something that we could all get together locally, because we were always like hanging out at your house, and we always have some configuration of 3 or 4 people.
Yep.
And we just were playing Perfect Dark all the time, even more than GoldenEye, I would say, because
oh yeah,
GoldenEye, you know, we got more multiplayer games after GoldenEye, but Perfect Dark just gave us so many options. And I remember even collecting like our save files would have like I think our stats.
Yeah.
And there was also the stars you could collect by doing certain objectives that were kind of cryptic. So it just was a massive game, so massive that if you didn't even have the expansion pack, you couldn't play like 70% of the game.
Yeah. Yeah, it was mostly multiplayer and bad-looking multiplayer.
Yeah, yeah.
This was like such a sequel that like they even had the original GoldenEye guns in there as unlockables.
They were.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's hard for me to pick between these two, because it's like I was telling you, Deuce, is like I guess I could technically pick GoldenEye if I had to pick the two, but at the same time, I could also just pick Perfect Dark, because that game was just much bigger, much more refined, and just massive. It really, you know, more than anything else. It's just such a fantastic game, and it sucks that we probably won't get a new one ever again.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. I keep hearing whispers and rumors saying that people are looking into buying what's already been made of Perfect Dark, the next one.
2K was trying to buy it.
Yeah.
Finally.
And it's like, somebody just do it. Like, why do you have all these billions if you can't just throw your money around and get us
like
what we want?
Wouldn't you get money from selling it? You
Yeah.
know? Like, I don't know. It seems kind of silly, but yeah, Perfect Dark and GoldenEye are like just, you know, big pieces of my childhood, but something that we could also get into now if you wanted to, just get a nostalgic itch, and it would scratch it just fine.
I'm glad it's in your top 5 for the age that they are.
I know.
I'm glad it's made it up there.
Well, I think that's the hard part for me, is like when I was making this list, some of it was like the replayability of it, right?
Yeah.
Some of these don't age well. Like, I don't know, like Deus Ex, you could play it now, but it's definitely clunkier.
It's going to be, yeah.
Right? And it's like these other games that are in my top 4, they're just as good, arguably, but they're a lot easier to get into because they're also newer.
Look at, I imagine this is the way with Nightfire in my honorable mentions, but look at when we played Agent Under Fire.
That was a fun time.
We were like, what are these buttons?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Like
no matter how you think of them, they did not age the way you think.
They did not, no. Dual stick control is really not a thing, even in Agent Under Fire, which is like 2001, something like that, 2002. Yeah.
My number 4.
Yes.
I almost forgot about this. Like, I'm like, oh no, wait, it's definitely a shooter, and it's been talked about before. It's Metroid Prime, and like, I think what's helped me put it so high on my list is my recent replay of the remaster.
Yeah,
and just reminding me that, like, oh yeah, this was an amazing first-person experience. This is, like I said with Resident Evil 7, they took what you already know about Super Metroid and regular Metroid, and then they were like, what if it was first person? And they did everything exactly right to make you feel like you're in those old games.
And they destroyed everyone's expectations, because before this, which I think, you know, I think thinking back to it, I wonder if it's like people were just skittish and cautious because they were so upset about the Wind Waker thing, as far as like going cell shaded, that they're like, okay, so we got cell shaded Zelda, and they're going to give us first person Metroid. Like, what are you thinking? And everyone who was very just sort of, you know, negative about it they quickly shut up once they actually play it, because it was one of the best experiences on the GameCube, and it's still one of the best first person shooters.
It's like, I maybe they were hesitant because like games that had gone 3D weren't doing so well, other than Mario 64 going from 2D to 3D, and that's why they skipped Metroid on the N64. They didn't want to do that, like Castlevania like bombed out and everything.
Yeah.
So I think people were also still thinking along those lines, where like, even if it's first person, it's 3D and probably going to be rough.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't.
Yeah, it is one of the best translations or transitions from 2D to 3D you could imagine. I really don't know how else they could have improved this back then, because yeah, there was a lot of sort of I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but sort of like apprehension before it came out, and after it came out, it was like everything was silent. It's like, oh yeah, they actually did an amazing job. Like, it got 10s everywhere, 9s. It's one of the best games ever, even to this day.
I think it also helped because Metroid is known as sort of a platformer and adventure game. It helped games like Wolfenstein and Indiana Jones, where you don't have to be guns blazing.
That's true. You could be exploration. You have exploration. You have a little bit of puzzle solving.
Yeah, and backtracking if you have to, and jumping is now a feasible option in first person games, whereas other ones you were like GoldenEye and Perfect Dark didn't have jumping, and you were thankful.
Well, I'll go back to Turok, right?
Yeah.
That's one of the hardest platforming first person shooters ever because you're so slippery at times.
Yeah,
and it's asking you to stand like on a pedestal that's the width of your feet. You know?
And Metroid was like, no, she's got this, and then other games were like, oh, we'll just do it like them.
Yeah, and I'd say one of the more miraculous things about this too is that it doesn't have dual stick controls. It's still relegated to the one stick on the GameCube.
Oh yeah,
right. And
the remaster now.
Yeah, the remaster now does, which fits even better. It makes the game even better. But back then, it was really interesting because it didn't have dual stick. Like the C stick was really just like look around. I think it was.
No,
it was weapon select.
Weapons. Yeah,
that's right.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so it's amazing that they made it work with a single stick.
I think
it's almost restrictive in a way.
What, left trigger? If you held it, that's what made you straight.
That was like your. No, I thought that was like your aim and free aim.
No, the right trigger is the aim. You can now look up and down and then shoot. And left trigger was strafing. Other than that, your stick moved you like in GoldenEye.
Yes.
And it was just like, how did I get through this? And by the end of the game, I was actually really good with the GameCube controller. But now if I went back to it, I'm probably going to be like, oh, this is terrible.
Well, I remember, I think it was an EGM review. I forgot which review it was when we did the episode on it. They said like, oh, it takes you, like he was really hyperbolic. He said, like, you know, it takes you so, like, you have to get through half of the game to understand the controls. I'm like, no, once you play like a couple hours, you really feel like it's you acclimate yourself pretty well and you could do whatever you want. There's no issue with it.
But also, like, this came out around the same time as Halo.
Mm-hmm.
Don't switch back and forth.
Oh, that's also fair too. Yeah. That's probably one thing. It's like when you're playing Halo, which, you know, objectively does control better.
Yeah.
It is hard to go to Metro and be like, yeah, it's a little bit hard to grasp. So maybe that's also what's factoring in as if viewers like, I'm used to Halo with dual stick and this is like a nightmare.
You don't play Halo in the early evening and then switch over to Metroid because then you'll just be all wonky.
Yeah, then it's time for bed at that point. Yeah. My number 4, Deucey, is Half-Life 2, and I'm bundling episode 1 and 2 and tangentially Portal with this.
I was trying to think if I should put Portal somewhere.
It's you know,
it's almost a shooter, but all you're shooting is the portals.
Yeah, but it's still like a really big first-person shooting game.
Yeah.
Like it's more puzzle, right? That's really what it is. It's the first-person puzzle game. So, you know, I would still, you know, I'm not going to say like don't put it on your list.
No.
You know.
But I was like, I don't know if I could put it solely on my list and bump off something else.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's a fair point too. So I guess by that respect, that's probably good that I bundled them here.
Yeah.
Half-Life 2. So I played this on the Xbox originally. I really was excited for it because I only got to play a little bit of Half-Life 1. I watched my friend play it more because, again, he had the PC that could run these things.
Yeah.
So I had a little bit of familiarity with that. And then 2...
Did you see me playing it a couple times too? I had.
Yeah, I'm sure I did. Yeah, I'm sure I did. Half-Life 2, there was a ton of hype before this because it's also just in this era of PC games like with Doom 3 where it really was like the next generation of PC graphics. And this also, beyond the graphical look of it, also had some pretty incredible physics, like with the gravity gun.
Oh, yeah.
And Ravenholm in this game is one of the biggest playgrounds to use that gravity gun, where it's like you're using the environment to like stack, you know, like wood or plywood or whatever, like sort of get to the next level of the area or something like that. Or it's like you don't really have a gun, so you have to use like the saw blades in the area to like kill enemies. It really forces you to think outside the box of like normal sort of first-person shooting conventions and use this gravity gun the way they intended it and really show what it can do. Because there's also physics-based puzzles where it's like you might pick up you know, some barrels and throw them in a pool of water to raise the water. Right? So you have something like that.
Holy crap.
Yeah. So the story, it's like Gordon Freeman, who is the silent protagonist. It's all about this sort of oppressive thing going on. There's all this sci-fi elements to it too. Unfortunately, I don't remember too much about episode 1 and 2 other than the fact that I really enjoy them. They launched with the Orange Box, which again is like one of the best values in gaming ever in 2006. It was like $40 it was like Team Fortress, Portal, and Half-Life episode 1 and 2 and Half-Life 2. And I played through all of them on 360, and it was such a great experience all throughout. It truly is like one of the best story-driven first-person shooters. And you have Portal, which is like this sort of fan game. I think it was made like at a college university project or something like that.
Yeah.
It really was incredible, where it's like you could set up those portals anywhere in the level, and you could solve puzzles, and there's also physics involved with that too, where it's like you could set portals, you know, like on the ceiling and the ground, and, you know, jump through it, and you're sort of gaining velocity as you run through there
because you're just falling. It's like gravity, but
and some of that factors into the puzzle somewhere. It's like you have to sort of gain momentum by going through the portals to launch yourself over something. So these games bundled individually as on their own are truly incredible. And then for me, like to bundle them together is kind of like just sort of that early 2000s Half-Life era where it really showed where PC gaming was going and where first-person shooters were going. I really think this is sort of one of the turning points that also led in like the BioShocks and everything else kind of following suit with the story-driven first-person shooters.
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't have a Half-Life on anywhere on my list though because I never played 2. I still haven't played.
It's really worth it. Yeah. It's I think the orange box is backwards compatible on Series X. I can't remember.
I think so. Yeah, I can't remember either.
It's worth playing too, though.
But I did enjoy Half-Life 1 when I played it on PC. It was like one of the first times where, like you said, it was very story-driven that I can remember. And also, like, it was starting to take sound into account. There was the one boss monster that could hear your footsteps. And in all the games previous to that I've played, I was like, well, I hear footsteps on me, but it didn't seem to matter, especially in, like, GoldenEye. Enemies only heard your guns. They didn't hear you sneaking up on them. Mm-hmm. And in this one, I was like, why is this monster still getting me? Oh, I have to crouch.
Yeah. You have to factor in those new technologies of like listening.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Do you see we're cracking top 3? Go ahead with your number 3, which I knew this was going to be on your list somewhere. I don't know if I expected number 3, but then I was like, okay, this makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah. Great game.
This is my podium finisher, number 3, Duke Nukem 3D. I had to put it up this high because while you were the Doom guy and the Doom kid, once I discovered Duke Nukem on Nintendo 64, I was just all about that.
That's a good point. I didn't even really consider it in that sense. But yeah, like I was like the Doom person. You were definitely Duke.
Yeah, like
two sides of the same coin.
You had Doom on everything possible, and then I got Duke on everything possible. I just thought of it. I mean, I know people will talk about it now and go, oh, it's very of the time, and there's the humor, and there's the misogyny and stuff like that. And I don't want to just glaze over that. But also at the same time, like, I always saw it as just Doom, but better, because like the levels were more thought out.
Well, and they also had like themes that were like, like Hollywood and everything like that. Like they're a little more grounded in reality.
Yeah, the buildings looked like buildings like you would go into a theater or you would walk down the street and go into like a gun shop or something. Whereas Doom was always very samey in a lot of the levels until you got to some of the later ones. And Duke like was way more interactive. You could flip on and off the light switches.
Yeah, you could gain health from the water faucets.
Yes,
you could drink water. You could take a piss if you want to.
Yeah, that would get you 10 health. Just a good pee. And there was like a ton of weapons that, for me in Doom, I always just use the shotgun on everything. Once you get that, and sometimes the chain gun on like the pinkies. In Duke, I was like, oh, I really do need to use the grenade launcher here. I need to use the pipe bombs here. The shotgun definitely works well on the pigs. So I was just more into everything about it. And also, I started on Duke 64, which was heavily edited and censored. So, like, you save the babes. You don't just kill the ones that are captured.
Yeah, that's a Nintendo edict that aged better than the PC version, I would say, in some senses. Yeah.
They got rid of, like, all traces of porn and stripping.
Yeah, because you could... that was, like, the big thing back then. Like, we're, like, 11, 12 years old.
Yeah.
And you could tip the strippers money, and they would flash you. And it's like, holy crap. And they have tassels, which is even more hilarious. But,
which is also, like, something that no other first-person game... No other game really was doing. Well,
also, with this game, like, it is of the time, like you said. But at the same time, it's one of those things where... This is like an 80s movie in a game is what it is, right? It's just Duke has a bunch of one-liners. He's really just like just sort of like a more gratuitous Stallone Schwarzenegger action goon.
That was my next point.
But satirized.
Was like there was so much voice acting. John St. John is a famous actor for Duke, and he did a great job copying so many lines from other action movies.
Yeah, like one of the most famous ones is from They Live, where he says, right? So it's like it's all just influenced by the 80s.
And so I thought that was a great thing because Doom Guy is silent in all the Doom games and everything, whereas Duke now has attitude and everything, and he's talking crap to the aliens as he's killing them. And I do understand that like Duke Forever definitely doesn't work because they weirdly tried to keep Duke the same in a modern time, and nobody goes for that anymore. I thought of it while I was thinking of this, like they should have made it so that Duke tries to pull what he pulls and it doesn't work, and so he's trying to like change himself as you go along through the game.
Like a coming of age story.
Yeah, where he's trying the one-liners and he's trying this stuff, and people like smack him down for it, and he's like, okay, and he's still like kicking ass and saving the world, but at the same time he's like, learning. I think that would have been like a perfect way to bring him into the next era. But for some reason, they really thought, no, kids are going to like this Duke guy.
Well, you also have to consider, too, it's like beyond the fact of what they released is that thing was in development hell for like 15, 16 years, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So they're already beyond budget and they're not going to rework it. And at the time when they started, which was probably the early 2000s, Duke 3D was still sort of the time where it's like, women are like more presented more scantily clad on TV and all that crap, right? Yeah. But it's like when Duke Nukem Forever started, they were still sort of in that, society was sort of in that sense. But by the time it came out, which was, God, what was it, like 2010, 2012? I don't know what it was.
2011 or 12, yeah.
Something like that. Like you have a game that's rooted in the late 90s, early 2000s, and it's also shellacked together because it's been development hell. Of course, it's going to be a turd, So it's like it's one of those things where, yeah, you're right. It just didn't work. It was never going to work. They really just needed to rework them or make them more like, remember like game Eat Lead, that weird shooter?
Oh, yeah.
Where it's more like a tongue-in-cheek 80s rip-off kind of action star thing.
But he was breaking the fourth wall, I think.
Yeah, right? Like they could have made him something like that, but instead they have what they have with Duke Forever. But 3D...
He should have been more like self-aware.
Yeah, but like poking jokes on himself.
But 3D was just so much fun. And then it was also like one of the first times we did a co-op in first person.
Yeah, it was, because that was one of the big things that the N64 version had, was two-player co-op, which was a really fun time.
Yeah.
It didn't look the greatest, but we didn't really notice. It played fine.
It also didn't apply to the story. You were both Duke Nukem, but you just ran around killing everything.
Yeah. It's a great one. My number 3, Cyberpunk 2077 and the expansion Phantom Liberty. So this game is problematic for a reason, right? When it came out in 2020, it was rushed, it was delayed, and it was rushed out, and it was very obvious. It ran like crap on PS4, on Xbox. PC was the only thing it didn't run terribly on, and even then it wasn't like well optimized. And it took this game, well, I should say, I beat it back then. I just played through the story because I dealt with the glitches. I had a lot of them, but I love the story so much that I was like, I'll just get through it, whatever. And then I put it away for like 2 years. They reworked it. They like reworked how the progression is. You're leveling up. They basically made it like a whole new game. And when I played through this on PS5, I was like, holy crap, I love this game. It's anything with like a sci-fi noir rooted in like a Blade Runner kind of theme, I'm in. And there's all, again, like Deus Ex has this whole sort of a corporate conspiracy story going on. And it has Keanu Reeves as like one of the main characters who's like literally living in your head.
Yeah.
He's Johnny Valentine, what's his name? Johnny Valentine or something like that? Johnny
Silverhand.
Johnny Silverhand, excuse me. And when I played through it the second time on PS5, I did like all the side quests. I did a ton of side content. I did pretty much everything I possibly could with the exception of like collecting whatever trinkets or whatever small things. And I was just like totally immersed in this game because they finally made a neo sci-fi noir world rooted in like a sci-fi action RPG. And it was such a great game. And to me, like when I was thinking about like my whole top 10 list, I was like, well, damn, like I don't know where I'd put this, but I feel like I have to put it high because I could replay this over again as a different character, a different
backstory,
a different sort of spec as far as like if I would do melee or long range shooting and whatnot. So it's sort of like a few steps below Deus Ex as far as like the freedom it gives you, but the story and the side stories are just so freaking good that like I was just gripped the entire way through my single playthrough. And this is a game that I would go through again and do that all over again.
I don't know why it hasn't hooked me. Like I've started it 2 or 3 times, but I also haven't started it since maybe their like 3rd or 4th redo.
Oh wow.
4th.
Yeah.
So like I think the last time I played it, it still had the old way that you leveled up and the old skill trees that didn't really matter.
Yeah.
So I really have to go into it a 5th time even and see all the new stuff they put into it and see if it really clicks with me.
The changes are really worthwhile. Like there's like that you could get these sort of body part augments in the original, and they were expensive as hell when it first came out, and they were kind of useless.
Yeah.
And it was just to a point where when I played through the game the first time, I literally used the same weapon loadout for like the last 6 hours of the game. And then that all changed because now in the reboot, whatever you want to call it, the redone version, you have a lot more freedom. Things are cheaper. Like the economy as far as like your abilities is way better. So you have a lot more options to spec how you want. And it's just, It's sort of, again, it's just like it's exactly what I wanted in 2020 when it first came out, but it took like 2 or 3 years to get there, unfortunately. Yeah. So, it's a terrible tale for crunch time and like games releasing in poor states. But thank goodness they did a total 180, and the game is truly remarkable at this point. It's one of my favorite first-person shooters for good reason.
And I mean, the story and the whole area that you're in really should be speaking to me. I love that sort of thing. I remember when I first started playing this, I also was watching Altered Carbon on Netflix.
Oh yeah, that was a great show.
And they were almost like very similar with the person in your head sort of thing. And yeah, like I said, I just wasn't hooked, but I really want to be.
I get you, because there's some games where I look at, I'm like, I wish I could get deeper into this, because it should be something I enjoy, and yet there's something that isn't hooking me. So hopefully one of these tries. Sometimes I have to do it. It's like 3 or 4 restarts. I'm like, oh yeah, I love this game now.
It's like Resident Evil 7 or something, where I was like on the 3rd or 4th time, I finally got all the way through it and loved it.
Yeah, it's like you just have to, I don't know, suffer through a little bit, I guess, wherever that means, and then like you're like, all right, I'm hooked.
Yeah.
All right, do you see your number 2?
My number 2 is huge for me.
I knew this was going to be up here,
but I also almost didn't put it on my list at all, because to me it's an RPG. That just happens to be first person.
I could see that too, yeah. But we have no rules here. Judging by our selection, has 2 games in one, and yours that has like 5. So I'm glad you had the freedom to say like, I'll just put this on here.
My second best, my number 2 is Fallout 4. I put this on here because I've spent like over 100 hours on it. I can only say that about like Stardew Valley and this game. I just really enjoyed fully getting immersed into it, and even more so than like Fallout 3. I really enjoyed when Fallout 3 came out, and that was a first person game, but it was clunky. It still had some stuff that kind of turned you off to it. Fallout 4 took all that away. It streamlined everything. I don't care about when people say, oh, it's oversimplified.
Yeah, it's funny to me when it's like, it's always sort of a vocal minority of people who are saying that. And I also get that too, because Fallout in the original 2 games were especially choice driven, which I really love and enjoy. But the concessions they made in 4, I don't care, because it's really fun. I'll deal with the sort of the lack of impactful choices when the game is that as good as it is.
And I still want to go back into it, even though I feel like I've done everything I could. There's probably some little side mission I missed somewhere. Even though if you look at my map, it is very filled in. I've never filled in an open world map to this extent.
Yeah.
But like I've also recently started Fallout Season 2 on Prime, and even that's triggering me into wanting to get back into Fallout 4, even though the show is set in New Vegas, and I almost want to get into that.
It's just, it always happens though. It's like we said, you always get that itch when you watch a show related to something, right?
Yeah.
I told you, because I tried to get in New Vegas again.
Yeah.
I tried to get into 76 again, and I enjoy that for the short time.
Yeah.
But it always does that, where it's like you watch a show and you're like, yeah, I really want to play this now.
Yeah, and I want to jump back into Fallout 4. I'll just wander around, even if I don't have any goals.
Did you do all the DLC in there too?
Yeah.
Oh wow, okay, because I only beat Far Harbor, and I didn't beat like Nuka World, I think the other one is.
Yeah, that one.
I heard that one's really good.
That one is so fun. It's like Fallout in Disneyland.
That's great.
But Far Harbor was also really good because my partner throughout the entire game was the robot detective guy. Oh man, why did I forget his name?
I can't.
Was it Valentine or something like that?
Yes, Valentine. I'm pretty certain. Yes.
And because I was like super best buddies with him, it made Far Harbor. It opened up more stories and everything into Far Harbor, and I think that's why I was like hesitant to put this on my list at all, is because like I don't even think of it as a shooter, or I know it's first person. It can be third if you want, but like I want to go in and play it again for all the story elements. I don't care if I shoot anything. Well,
it's kind of like we're splitting hairs at that point too, right? Because it's like, it is a first person game. You can shoot and you do have melee.
Yeah.
It's really, the emphasis is probably more on story than something like Duke or Doom or something, where the emphasis is on shooting and dispatching everything in front of you, right? So it's really, it's really just the same thing. So it's just a matter of like, do we want to consider first person shooters? Like I would, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because you go into first person, and it's also, I think, better in first person.
I think so too. I can't, it just doesn't feel right to play these Bethesda games in third person. I don't know why. Even like Oblivion and all those other ones.
I think it's weird because like, even though you're in third person, the way the cursor is set up and the way you move, it still thinks you're first.
Yeah, the angle also kind of is weird. Like it's not oriented. At least it doesn't feel oriented right to me. So I don't know. It just feels like it's a little bit obstructive with the perspective that they have the character in front of you.
It's not like a Dark Souls or an Elden Ring where you're center of the screen and you were meant to be third person.
Yeah, I really think the third person is just there for camera purposes. I'd be curious to meet someone who plays in third person exclusively. I don't know.
Anybody who just wants to see what their outfit looks like.
Yeah, that's really it, I guess. Yeah, if they jazz themselves up.
Yeah.
All right, my number 2 is one you had a little bit earlier in your list. It's Metroid Prime, and we really talked through this one also in a full episode we did where we covered Metroid Prime and what was the other one? Was it Zero Mission or something like that?
No, Fusion, because they came out
that's right. The same day, the best day ever is what we called it. Yeah, Metroid Prime is just one of my favorite first-person games ever. I always point out my little nitpickiness about collecting the artifacts, which is really just a small issue. I'm going to call it a big deal. But everything about this game is just so fun. The biomes are all different. It really just is encapsulates what I like about the most about Metroid games is like their variety in different areas. And also it feels like a Metroid game, like Dread, which I can see to your point where it's like everything just feels like it's really mechanized and kind of samey because it's all just sort of like machines and industrial, right?
And if not that, then cave systems.
And cave systems, yeah. Whereas with Metroid Prime and a lot of, like Super Metroid, like each area just feels very distinct and its own sort of feel to it, different atmosphere, especially with the music. And this game is just the perfect 3D-ification, I guess we'll use, of a Metroid game. Like this is exactly what I would have expected, even with my upbringing. Just like I don't know what I was going to expect when I played this game, but once I played, I was like, wow, this is truly stellar. And we're talking about it 25 years later now.
Yep.
All right, Ducey, you're number 1, which no surprise to me, but I think a very worthwhile number 1.
And I will say the same for when you mention your number 1.
Yeah.
Our number 1s are quintessentially us.
They're quintessentially us. That's perfect. Yeah.
I did the same cheat. I followed you because at first I didn't.
I know you did. I noticed after you shit to your list, like, okay, that's a fair point to do.
But like you, I wanted another space for another game. So I put these two together, and it is GoldenEye and Perfect Dark at number 1. And above all, like I talked about GoldenEye in the GoldenEye episode. I've talked about it various times throughout our run of this podcast. It's like so important to me and so fun. It's could be top 5 of all of my games ever. But like the reason it made it number 1 and I paired it with Perfect Dark, I'm good at it.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And I don't usually admit that about games. But if we did a top 10 fighter, I know you would put Street Fighter up at the top.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, I'm good at GoldenEye, and I scared people back in the day from playing it too much. Like Perfect Dark, I think I dropped off a bit because we could have bots in there and they could get my goat. And also there was that Farsight weapon where people could just snipe me through a wall and I wouldn't have a chance.
Yeah, it's especially goofy when all 4 of us have one of those and we're just like sitting in events trying to like seek each other out. It's so stupid. It was so fun.
Nobody's moving along the level. We're all just standing still.
Trying to see the colored silhouette of somebody. Yeah.
But I just enjoyed both of these games together, and I'm glad that Perfect Dark exists. It was sort of like Rare's apology where like, we're not going to give you Tomorrow Never Dies, like the next Bond in line, but here's a game that's basically the same, but better, improved in every way.
Yeah. And as much as it sucks that they didn't get to do another Bond game, I think we talked about it before, but it's actually great that they didn't because this also allowed them to kind of explore things more and be a little bit more ambitious with what they want to do. Right? They weren't constricted to the Bond license. Now they could do whatever the hell they wanted, and they had no restriction. It was just a totally original story, totally original game, totally original ideas.
I feel like also like GoldenEye, you started to use some Bond gadgets, which was definitely different than a lot of these other first-person shooter games. And then Perfect Dark took it a step further where you're starting to hack computers and you're starting to do like the little floaty camera spy work and stuff like that.
Well, and your weapons have crazy things like the laptop gun where it's like you deploy a suitcase as like a sentry gun that kind of passes, it's like a motion detector almost, right? And it's like you had weapons that could explode on contact. Like you throw them. I think it was like the dragon or something like that.
Yeah, you could turn the super dragon into a proximity mine.
Yeah, right. So it's like it really ramped up the Bond gadgets, but again, like it had the freedom to make whatever the hell they wanted.
They even tried vehicles a little bit. You had the little super quick hover bike thing.
I forgot about that thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It never had guns on it, so I don't know why. But hey, it was cool. You could zip around a little.
Yeah.
I just liked the locations and the story about it, or where you're dealing with aliens. It's kind of like an alien war, and Earth got caught up in the middle of it.
With an alien named Elvis.
Yeah. One thing we didn't talk about, but both of these games did something that first person shooters I don't think have completely done since then. And that's like the hit detection on the enemies and how they're not really bullet sponges. Like if you shoot a headshot, that's probably going to down them in the one hit, unless you're on like the super hard difficulty, and then maybe it's 2 shots. But if you shoot them in the hand or the knee or something, they react.
Yeah.
And like I said, they weren't bullet sponges. Whereas in other games following this, almost in the same era and beyond, you're just sitting there wasting a whole clip on a guy, and it's all it's going is tack, tack, tack,
Yeah.
tack, tack, tack.
Well, that's like Borderlands in a nutshell, too.
Yeah.
It's like, granted that's an RPG, but yeah, it's the same idea. It's like you're literally holding the trigger down for minutes,
Yeah.
to dispatch an enemy. But yeah, this is really one of the earliest instances I can remember where, yeah, if you shot someone in the leg, they'd react to that. Or you could shoot their hand and they drop their weapon. That's a level of immersion that really wasn't a thing back then. It was, like you said, it was just generalized. Like their whole body was a target. And you have to hope that they die when you shoot them enough.
And they would react in different. You could shoot them in the butt, and they would start grabbing their butt. They would do a little dance. Another thing, the AI was getting better, where like they would pop around the corner and then they would pop back. They were like, "Oh shoot!" And then they would pull out a grenade. And if you interrupted them, like if you shot them really quick, you could pick up that grenade, and now you have it in your inventory. If you watched them pull the pin, do a little animation, and then shot them, then the grenade would drop and blow up the area. And I was like, yeah, no other game was really doing that at this time. No attention to detail like that.
Not quite. They hadn't gotten to that point where they could add things that were, contextual in the firefights and actually help you. It was always just, if you killed them, so did a grenade. Like you went with them.
Yeah.
It wasn't a bonus or anything like that. It was just you got to shoot them before you got killed.
Sometimes you could even be so unlucky that they were throwing it and you would hit the grenade in midair.
Yeah.
And screw yourself over.
I remember we could do that in Halo 2, actually. That was pretty hilarious. So, fantastic choice for your number one. I think both of those are perfectly sensible at number one for a lot of reasons. My number one, as you said, Ducey, is probably painfully obvious for anyone who's listened to us for an extended time, but my number one is Doom.
And every type of version.
And every type of just Doom in general. Just Doom to me is almost a verb, almost. It's just a ubiquitous term. The original Doom, we did a whole episode on that as well, way back. It was a Halloween episode. It was last year, I think, right?
No, 2 years ago now.
2 years ago? Jesus.
Yeah.
It
was our Spooktober month.
Our Spooktober, yeah. So we did a whole episode on that covering basically just development and the history and the impact of Doom. For me, this is just my favorite first-person shooter because I've said before, it's like comfort food. It's like I can get into it very quickly. Your whole objective is to rip and tear. That's all you're doing. You're getting each new weapon is just supposed to be more brutal than the last. You'll probably use a shotgun more than anything else. I really don't have a game in the series I don't like. I even like Doom 3, even though it's a vastly different game. I think it's a boldly different game. And then Doom 2016 is like the ultimate reboot reinvention for Doom. It took everything that the original Doom did and took it to 11. It made everything faster.
I like how 2016 sort of it even incorporated Doom 3 into it with the storytelling. Yeah,
it did. Yeah. So that's the thing is like the story is more prominent here. It's not at the forefront. It's still sort of like told through cutscenes and whatnot, but it's not like you're not frequently stopping to get like the exposition or anything like that. It's just sort of like in between these certain things because the emphasis on the game is just to destroy enemies as quickly as you can, get in their face, run into them. There's a whole gameplay loop in Doom 2016 where it's like you weaken the enemies and you do like a melee to get your health back, and you get the chainsaw to get ammo back. So there's this there's this perpetual refilling of resources that you are in control of, where you're just meant to be rushing the entire time. And for me, I am just, I don't know, my mind sometimes goes at that speed. So I need something that matches that. And Doom 2016 are those kinds of games. And again, like that goes to like Doom Eternal, Doom Dark Ages, just Doom in general, to me is like the ultimate, most influential grandfather of first-person shooters. I would argue that most of the games we talked about today probably have some influence or some aspiration from Doom that was influenced into their games.
Yeah, I feel like I'm good at Doom the original, but Doom 2016 it takes me a little while to get back into it because of the freneticness, and I think that's why I haven't gone into Eternal yet, because that's even more so.
It's more so. Dark Ages it's difficult, but it's definitely slower, more grounded. So that might be like a little bit less learning curve for you. But again, like I totally get it, because it is the level of freneticism here is ridiculous, right? Like it's just it's like listening to a metal album at 2 times speed all the way through and not blinking.
I feel like that's why our number ones are very much us, because like GoldenEye and Perfect Dark, I can be very much more methodical, and there's even stealth sections, and I can sneak through some whole levels without ever getting caught. Whereas in Doom, it's like, no, I'm here now. Yeah. I'm shooting everything.
No, it's fair. And I do love the stealth aspect and like all the other games we talked about today, but as far as just like the sort of arcadey experience and just sort of that general power satisfaction, to me it's just Doom. Like it's just Doom and first-person shooter are sort of like they're one and the same to me. So it's one of those things where it's like Doom is the first-person shooter of first-person shooters.
That's true. Like it's like we were talking about on the last episode, the brand names where like everything is Kleenex, even though it's facial tissue. It's like everything could be considered Doom.
Yeah, it could be a Doom game. Yeah.
I mean, for a while there was a genre of like Doom clones.
I was just about to bring that up.
Yeah.
Like even Duke was considered sort of a Doom clone in some respects, right? It's because of the general design of it, just like, corridor shooting. I remember that was like a term they were throwing around back then too.
And it's interesting because I think Duke split off enough that it was its own pioneer, where
it was
Doom pioneered a bunch of first person, and then Duke pioneered everything that used a build engine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there's like games like Rise of the Triad, Strife. There's a ton of shooters that we haven't even talked about today that are both not influenced, but using like the build engine or Doom's id Tech engine, which they didn't call it id Tech then. It was just called the Doom engine, wherever it was.
I think. Isn't like Hexen more like Doom?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's more Doom than...
And then Blood is more like Duke.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So again, another 2 games we need to talk about. Those are another influenced by those 2. Yeah. So yeah, number 1 for me was painfully obvious. Like when we did this list, like I already knew what number 1 was going to be. It was like the one thing I put on my list right away. But I think Doom is sort of like the benchmark for first person shooters, especially back then. It just did so much for the genre, so much for PC gaming in general. And all these games that came after it were, in some way, I'd have to say, owe some thanks to Doom in some way. Yeah. So, Deucey, we made through a ton of first-person shooting games today.
Yeah.
We had our top 10s and like a top 30 honorable mentions, because this is just a massive genre, a lot to talk about. I think it would be great if we could do like a history of kind of thing. But frankly, I think with everything we covered today, it's sort of like a broad, brief run through of the history of first-person shooters in some sense, I'm
sure we're going to hit more of these games in the future, doing the deep dives and their development.
That's also true, too. I'm sure we'll be doing some of those, because I think it'd be really cool someday to do like a Deus Ex thing, or, BioShock would be another fun one.
Yeah, for sure.
Some more like, because we do a lot of like retro games. We could do like newer retro, like 360, which is funny to consider retro, but it's 20 years old.
Well, yeah, sadly now, if we did like Halo 1 or 2, those are retro.
Those are pretty retro now. Yeah. Halo's going to be 25 this year. It's pretty crazy, yeah. So there you go. That kind of ages us a little bit here. But nonetheless, we had a very fantastic episode. I think we had a pretty badass list overall. If you do want to send us your lists for any reason for top 10 first-person shooters, or just anything you want to talk about, again, you can reach out to us at LegionGamingPod@gmail.com. We're also on Instagram at LegionGamingPodcast, where we post all kinds of cool stuff. And I'll probably be posting some first-person shooter stuff in the next, by the time you hear this, I guess I should say. Deucey, any final words for our friends before they go back to ripping and tearing?
Well, I did want to say that because of the recent times in our country, I hope that this episode was just more fun reminiscing about games than it is about, trigger warnings and things like that.
Yeah, some awful things going on around the world and in the country that, F them all. Frankly.
So, I mean, we're not trying to say one way or another. I'm sure those of us, the people, listeners out there that know us, know our stance on things, but like, this was really just about the fun we've had with games in the past when we were kids, when times were a lot simpler. And,
yeah, we had no adulting, no bills, no 40-hour work weeks. That was the big thing I missed about being a kid.
So I just wanted to say, finally, like, everybody stay safe out there. And like you said, go out and play these games, play these shooters.
For lack of a better term, go out and rip and tear.
Yep.